Good afternoon, distinguished guests, speakers, and colleagues. I'm Nakarin Piam Wanapakin, Pharma pharmacist. On behalf of Pharma it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the Pharma Symposium 2025. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. The theme of this symposium, from quality products to quality of life and longevity, translating research into better health, reflects our core mission and what we deeply believe in. At Pharma ACA, our commitment goes far beyond importing and distributing high-quality dietary supplements from the Pharma brand. We place great importance on scientific evidence, clinical research, and academic development related to the effective and responsible use of supplements. Our goal is to ensure that these products truly contribute to better health outcomes and an improved quality of life, especially for people in Thailand. This belief forms the foundation and inspiration for today's event. We hope that the knowledge shared here, backed by research, clinical experience, and global expertise, will empower healthcare professionals to translate evidence into real health benefits for patients and consumers. Once again, welcome and thank you for joining us. And now, it is my honor to invite Mr. Jorgen Dam, Research Director of Pharma in Denmark, to deliver the opening remarks. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Jorgen Dam. Thank you.
Thank you, Konakarin, and to all the participants, a very warm welcome to this Pharma afternoon symposium. We are pleased to see all of you and that you have found the program interesting enough to come and join us today. My name is Jürgen Dam. I'm in the everyday life the head of research for Pharma in Denmark, actually, and also covering the whole world. Pharma is a Danish company, and we have, as you know, for sure, a Thai subsidiary, like we have more than 30 subsidiaries all over the world. And if you want to look for Pharma products, you can find the Pharma products in more than 50 countries throughout the world. The company was founded about 45 years ago, and the aim was to bring certain nutritions of natural occurrence or substances or molecules to the market in forms of relevant doses, mainly in tablets and capsules. And those basically manufactured according to the rules for production of medicine. So we are running a full GMP facility in Denmark. Today's program is organized around three of the three most important substances for the Pharma company. Firstly, coenzyme Q10 and the trace mineral selenium. These are ingredients that we have worked with for several years and for which we have developed Pharma products, both medicines and also food supplements. There's a great interest worldwide for these substances, and we have actually supplied IMPs also worldwide for more than 100 clinical trials. It can be said, you know, if you want to carry out research projects, it is about following certain rules and regulations, and those are well described, so every researcher will know how to act. And then, you know, after the research has been finished, of course, the aim is to publish the result in a peer-reviewed clinical journal. Once you have achieved that, then it is important that as many as possible will get to know and get insight in what you have been doing, so everybody can benefit from the results of scientific research. And that's why we're here today, to talk about these things. Our aim is to communicate these important results from the scientific world, all over the world actually, and which kind of evidence and trend when we're looking upon cardiovascular disease, risk reduction, or a general healthy aging and the management of same. Today we have the honor of having Professor Sten Larsen from the University of Copenhagen, who has actually been studying the two substances I talked about for some time, and he knows a lot about the literature worldwide and the evidence behind. Next substance, the third, is the substance is pycnogenol. Pycnogenol is a very unique pine bark extract that will be presented by our Swiss partner, Horfag Research. And today, Dr. Jeff Strong from Horfag Research, Japan, will take us through the multiple health benefits of this substance. Well, one can say that it actually works like a Swiss knife with a lot of functions. Then Dr. Naditorn from the Longevity Clinic in Thailand, he will finally talk about a very important subject here, how to integrate these nutritionals into clinical practice. I hope all of you will enjoy and listen carefully to our prominent speakers. I will now give the word to our today's moderator, Dr. Brian, from Vitalife Scientific Wellness Center at Bumungard International Hospital. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for those kind words. My name is Dr. Brian Kunakom. I am a naturopathic doctor, and I am honored today to be a moderator on the behalf of my establishment. Thank you, Pharma Nord, for giving me as enough credit as all the speakers today, but I won't be presenting anything for me. I'll be moderating all the sessions for today. Our first speaker, it's my pleasure to introduce Associate Professor Dr. Sten Larsen. Dr. Larsen is internationally recognized for his contributions to human metabolism and healthy aging, with a unique academic foundation, earning a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, Master's in Physiology, and a doctorate in Medical Sciences, all from the University of Copenhagen. He brings a distinctive perspective to mitochondrial biology. Today, he serves as an associate professor in the Department of Biomedical Sciences, and he's also part of two major initiatives there, the Center for Healthy Aging and the Individualized Health Research Program. His research focuses on one of my favorite topics, mitochondrial function, how exercise, nutrition, lifestyle changes, and even medications can influence the way our mitochondria perform across different tissues. Some of his current projects include studying how semaglutide affects mitochondrial health, how exercise training changes mitochondrial function in type 2 diabetes, the interaction between statins and physical activity, CoQ10 supplementation in older adults, and even how antidepressants impact mitochondrial health. His group has published more than 100 papers in top journals including Nature Communications, Diabetologia, Acta Physiologica, and the Journal of Physiology. And beyond all that, he is also a dedicated educator, teaching medical students and supervising research trainees at every level. I actually had the chance yesterday to hear him speak. I was really fascinated by how something as simple as selenium and CoQ10 actually shift chronic diseases at a population level. It really shows the power of mitochondrial health in real life. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sten Larsen.
Thank you, Brian, so much for this nice introduction. And thank you to Pharma Nord for inviting me to give this presentation. So as Brian was telling you, I'm from Copenhagen, and I'm doing a lot of human clinical trials. I'm very much interested into how exercise is affecting our metabolism, because I guess that if we could all be physical active, then a lot of our problems in the world will be a lot smaller. But I also am fully aware of that physical activity is, everybody knows it's good, but we also know that a lot of us is not doing it. And that's why, as Brian told you, I'll touch up on selenium Q10, because they can actually do some of the things that exercise also is doing. So I'll take you through this outline today. So I'll talk a little bit about the prevalence of obesity, aging, and cardiovascular disease, because if you want to live long and healthy, then all these things will at some point, if we don't take care of it, be an issue. Then I'll talk a little bit about clinical markers of aging and relate that to what happens if you supplement participants with Q10 or selenium. Then I will get into a little bit of the biochemistry. I'm not that strong in that, but why is it that it actually makes sense that selenium and Q10 can have these effects on the human body? And then I will show you some clinical trials that has been using selenium and Q10 in relation to cardiovascular disease, aging, and obesity. So this is a figure from US. It's from the data is collected in 2018. It's BMI. We all know that the population is getting bigger and bigger, and we are getting more and more inactive. But this is numbers from adult people 20 plus, where it states that around 42% of the US adult population is having a BMI above 30. That will lead to cardiovascular disease in some of those people. In Denmark, we think that that's just something that is happening in US, but it's not. So we are not up to this level yet, but we are getting there. And maybe some of the big drug companies can actually get this to decline a little bit. So we all know that GLP-1 receptor agonists are an important drug. But we'll see. And actually, when looking into BMI still in US, then now they are talking about plus 40. And around 1 out of 10 US American adults are actually having a BMI of plus 40, which is, in my mind, an issue that we need to be very well aware of. And it will create issues both health-wise, but also economical later on in life, right? So this is an older figure from 2015, but it's just because I like to see it like this, right? That we can see that obesity BMI plus 30, there is a lot of states in the US where you have more than 1 out of 4 that is having a BMI plus 30. But the interesting thing is that if you then look at the development of type 2 diabetes, then we can see it's not the same figures, but we can see that plus at around 9 or more % in many of the states is actually having this disease. So there is a clear link between obesity and the development of type 2 diabetes. And then if you look into BMI, then we can see here that this is BMI, and this is the relative risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And we can see that something is happening at around a BMI of 28, 29, then the relative risk increases dramatically. So this is if you just looked at people that are overweight, obese. But what happens to other measures of body composition? So this is waist circumference. And down here we have different waist circumferences here and the risk of developing type 2 diabetes. We can see if you have a low BMI, but you have a wide waist, then you are also in a risk zone for developing type 2 diabetes. So it's not only people that are very, very high on BMI, but it's also how you distribute your adipose tissue that is linked to these cardiovascular disease and type 2 diabetes. That's one thing. We get bigger and bigger. We get more and more inactive. But we also get older and older, potentially because a lot of doctors is very good at giving medication to patients, right? At least that's one part of it. But we can see here that if we look at the number of participants or the number of people in the world, then we are going from around 12% in 2015 to around 20% in 2050. That will, of course, create some issues also. And if we look into the percent increase, then we can see that in the world from 2017 to 2050, we will actually increase the amount of people that are 60 plus. And if you're looking at where it is happening, then we can see that in Asia here, there is a massive increase in this number, right? In Africa, it's also the same thing. And if you look at percent-wise, then we can see that in the world, it increases a lot, right? In Europe, it increases a lot all over the place. And that will also create an issue with people that are getting all these lifestyle diseases. When talking about cardiovascular disease and aging, then this is a study from Asia where we can see that when you get around 75 to 80 years of age, the risk of developing cardiovascular disease increases. So what can we do about all these things? Because that's an important issue, right? That we need to make sure that we can get people to live long and healthy. We talk a lot in Copenhagen about biological aging. Can we affect biological age so we live long and have a healthy life? And we also know that there is a development phase in everybody's life. So at around 20, 25 years of age, you are fully developed. You have high muscle mass, you have high aerobic capacity, but then something happens, right? So at around 25 to 30 years of age, you start to lose muscle mass. Because you lose muscle mass, you're not that good at controlling your blood glucose. That can lead to type 2 diabetes. You're not that good at taking up oxygen when you're running. So that also drops, and that will create some issues if you don't take care of that. In the scientific literature, then DNA methylation has been used a lot to look into these things. So how can you affect DNA methylation to get younger? There are other things that we can look at. So in Denmark, we are doing a huge study now looking into genetics. There's a couple of studies showing that around 30% of the biological age can be explained by your genes. But then there is all these environmental factors. So physical activity, we all know that it's good. We also all know that it's very difficult to do. Diet and diet supplementation is also an important issue, and that's what a lot of the remaining of this talk will be about. Sleep, we all know that if you don't sleep well, then you feel not that good. That's an issue also. Stress and smoking is, of course, also things that we should be aware of. So if you think about physical activity and diet, for example, then we know that this decline is happening. But we also know from the literature that you can do a lot of stuff to actually make this steepness of this decline less steep. So, for example, if you do exercise, then if you look at muscle mass, glucose homeostasis, then you will actually not see the same drop as if you're doing nothing. But it's also the case if you think about what you eat. Supplementation, Q10, selenium is actually substances that will have an effect on this as well. So when looking into biological age, then as I mentioned, you can measure DNA methylation. You have maybe heard about telomere length, but there is also blood markers, so glucose levels, inflammation, and other different metabolic markers that are important. And if you want to do physiological tests, then if you can measure strength, that's an important part of being old and healthy. Aerobic activity, so how much oxygen can you deliver to your muscle, is also a very important marker for an healthy lifestyle. That can be measured in many ways, so walking speed or sit-to-stand test, so how many times can you sit and stand for 30 seconds? That will give you a lot of information about your aerobic activity. And then muscle mass in both these situations is important, and that is declining with age, no matter what you do, but the steepness can be changed depending on if you're doing exercise or not. So hand grip strength, we have a device like this, which is easy. It takes 2 minutes to measure. And if you look at hand grip strength here and you look at lowest or highest measured, then you can see that the risk of developing different known diseases is very much linked to hand grip strength. If we look over here, then we can see that grip strength is actually way more important for all-cause mortality than if you're doing exercise or not, which is interesting, I guess, right? But then you can also argue that if you're doing exercise, you might also have a higher grip strength. If looking at this is data from a lot of things that has been going on in Denmark, but also in the rest of the world. You can see grip strength in males and females. You can see that when you turn around 25, 30 years of age, it drops. So it's a matter of, in my mind, how well can you control this drop. So you should aim at not dropping like this, right? But more like this, because if you want to turn 80, it would be nice that you could turn 80 and take care of yourself. And that's one of the issues we are talking a lot about in Denmark, that if you are turning 80, and a lot of us are now, then it would be nice that you could provide yourself with food from the supermarket, walk up the stairs, and so on. Then muscle strength is related to cross-sectional muscle area. So this is cross-sectional muscle area. You can see it drops with age. This is pictures from the thigh muscle. You can see this is a young guy and this is a middle-aged guy that is less active here and more active over here. And if you look at it, I think it's pretty obvious that this young guy has less adipose tissue around his muscle. The older guy has more, but if you then are active and you can see how active they are, or this person is, then you can actually postpone the loss of muscle mass. But then again, it comes all down to, I mean, this guy is active 2 minutes, and this is 120 minutes a day, which is a lot. And none of us are doing that. Then glucose, insulin sensitivity. If you get older, stuff is happening with this marker as well. It can be a defect in insulin secretion, but it can also be decreased peripheral tissue adaptations. And if you put people in a bed like this, and you provide insulin at a certain constant rate, then your glucose will drop, and then you can put glucose into the participant to maintain a stable blood glucose level. And if you do that, then you get a number of how much glucose your body can take up at a given insulin concentration. And if you look at this, then we can see that it is also declining with age, right? Again, potentially because of the loss of muscle mass, for one thing, and because you are less active than if you're young. So if we look into cardiovascular risk factors, then we know from the clinical view that hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and all these things I have talked about earlier is giving you an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. And when you then look at the molecular viewpoint down here, then we can see that my favorite organelle, the mitochondria, is involved in this. And mitochondria are involved in so many things. It's also involved in development of type 2 diabetes. It's also involved in aging. So when you get older, you get a higher oxidative stress level from the mitochondria, which is bad for all things we have been talking about until now. If you're obese, you have a reduced capacity to take up oxygen in your mitochondria, but you also have an increased production of free radicals, which is in some cases a bad thing. So this leads to the hallmarks of aging, and today we have this one down here, the mitochondria. And I think the mitochondria is important for many things, but we also know that telomere length, epigenetic changes is also very important for the aging process. So why is selenium and coenzyme Q10 important? And I will try to show you some things that should convince you that this is actually important. We know from a lot of studies that looking into the content of Q10 in different tissues, we can see it drops when you get older. We know, I would almost say for sure, that if you take plasma samples, then we know that it is decreasing with age. Selenium is the same thing here. If you get older, you can see that the concentration of selenium in the blood is dropping. These numbers you should be a little bit aware of because it's around 90 when you are young and 75 when you are older. And that's something I'll come back to a little bit later because these numbers might be in the low range of what would be good for you for healthy aging. So in Europe, we know that the recommended daily allowance of selenium is 55 micrograms per day. And when looking at the different countries, we can see that a lot of the countries, including Denmark, it is borderline. How much do we get? Not enough, I guess. Finland is the only country that is actually high because they put selenium in their fertilizers. So what they harvest up there has a high content of selenium. And I guess actually that these numbers are pretty comparable to what we see out here in Thailand and in Asia. So why is selenium interesting? This study shows that if you have they vote that an optimal concentration is 125 micrograms per liter. And I showed you before, if you're 60 years plus, then in that study at least you had around 75, so you would be low. This study also indicates that if you have a low concentration, then supplementation should be done. And if you have this concentration, then you should not do it. And then they are talking about some different risk factors when you get too much selenium. And when looking at mortality here, then they can see that if you have around 130 to 140 micrograms per liter, then you are in the optimal zone. But if you get higher, you will increase your mortality risk, but also if you get too low. And I'll try to show you some data that is maybe saying that this number might be a little bit higher without any risk. This is from the European Food Safety Authority, and it's a study that has been published, or guidelines that was published a couple of years ago, where we see dietary intake down here, and then concentration in plasma up here. And you can see if you are at this level, then you are good. And if you increase the intake, then you don't see a dramatic increase in concentration. So the body gets rid of it, right? And if you take at the upper intake levels, then from this authority, they are actually stating that you can take as high as 250 micrograms per day. And what I just showed you was 55, so there's a huge difference. And I guess that a lot of people are actually low in selenium in many, many countries in the world. So if we look at Q10, why is Q10 important? Then it is produced from tyrosine and acetyl-CoA, and we know that it is producing in this pathway cholesterol and then coenzyme Q10 over here. We also know that statins is actually affecting this pathway. So this is a good thing, right? Because it lowers cholesterol, but if you give patients statins to lower cholesterol, you will actually also have an effect on Q10. We've done some studies, and we're not going to talk about that today, but maybe next time, that if you supplement people with Q10, then some of the side effects with statin treatment is actually improved. And that's something that could be relevant because you all know that statins, at least in Denmark, I think around 10-15% of all people in Denmark is taking statins. So that's also an issue. So what does it do? This is my favorite thing. So this is the electron transport chain in the mitochondria. It produces ATP. The mitochondria is in many, many cells. It's very important for energy production as one thing, but also important for many, many other things. So production of free radicals, for example, is happening a lot at the mitochondrial level. But as you can see here, Q10 is transporting electrons. So when you eat food, you produces NADH and FADH2. That is coenzymes that is carrying electrons, putting them into the mitochondria via coenzyme Q10 is going down the chain. And at some point, it is using oxygen and it is producing ATP. So it builds up an electrochemical gradient that is running this ATP synthase. So it's important, and it's interesting that Q10 is having this effect. So that's one part. And then another part is also that it has antioxidative capacities. So when looking at selenium in the bloodstream or local effects at the heart level, you can see all these things, they are linked to the aging process. So reduced inflammation, for example, oxidative stress, So selenium, for sure, when you want to control inflammation, you want to control oxidative damage or stress, then it is important, as well as Q10. And selenium has been shown to, as mentioned, antioxidative properties, but it also seems to have an effect on the brain. So a lot of studies has looked into what is the effect of selenium when you think about cognitive decline and stuff like that. And selenium is also very important for this selenoprotein. And this protein is important for glutathione. So glutathione is an antioxidant that is the most present in the body. So if we don't have selenium and selenoprotein, then this mechanism is not working. And then there is also other very important things in the antioxidative capacity that is in need of selenoprotein and selenium. And if you then look at this selenium protein, this is a study from heart failure patients aged 74 years of age. If you then group them in those that are having low or high amounts of Q10, then you can see that the survival rate is completely different. So this is just like a cross-sectional study, taking a blood sample, looking into selenoprotein, and you can see a massive effect, right? Depending on if you have high or low concentration of selenoprotein. There is a nice correlation between selenium and selenoprotein, as you can see here, but it also seems like you need to have a high amount in the plasma to see a big increase in the protein. So when talking about these aging markers, then we know that mitochondrial dysfunction is a part of it. It's linked to cardiovascular disease. And as I showed you before, the production of ATP, that can be affected by a lack of Q10. It's also known that oxidative stress is linked to cardiovascular disease, and both selenium and Q10 has an effect on this parameter, right? So you could think that if you are prone for cardiovascular disease, you should think about having enough selenium Q10. You can also just jump on your bike, right? And then you will have some of the same effects. But we again know that exercise is so difficult to implement. So when looking at grip strength again and selenium, then this study was done where they took a lot of participants, as you can see here, and then they put them into different quantiles, so how much strength they had in their hand. And then they looked at absolute grip strength, so how many kilos can you push when you have this device in your hand, and the relative grip strength. So if you normalize it to body weight, because that would be a fair assumption to do, right? Then how much can you push yourself? So absolute grip strength and relative grip strength. And when looking at this and looking at the association with a healthy aging lifestyle, then it can be seen that both these grip strengths, if you do it absolutely or relatively, it is associated with a higher likelihood of healthy aging. And in this case, that's like getting 80 without any major diseases and any major medications used. So I think that's actually nice that from a simple test, you can actually see a lot of, you can say a lot about healthy aging. Then they did proteomics, and you can see down here that selenoprotein is high up if you have a strong hand. And if you then do correlation analysis, you can see that if you have an high absolute grip strength, that's correlated to selenoprotein and to unhealthy aging. So a simple measure gives you a lot of information and something that we should think about. Then Q10 cardiovascular disease, this is one of the early studies where they took around 200 participants and then they measured Q10 in plasma and Q10 in tissue. And then they saw that those that were low on Q10 in plasma and in the tissue was actually more prone to develop cardiovascular diseases. That could be due to many things. So it could be the free radicals produced that are higher compared to a more healthy phenotype, right? So these studies has been, I mean, they are more than 50 years old now. I think that study led to this study that was done in Copenhagen called the Q-Symbio study. So in this study, they took around 400 patients that were currently in heart failure therapy, and then they just gave Q10 to one arm and placebo to the other arm. And as you can see here, they were very nicely matched for the disease. So a strong study with a decent N. And when they looked at major adverse cardiovascular events, you can see it up here, then the group that was taking Q10 over 2 years was actually less prone to have an event, which is a nice study, right? And you should remember this one, because I will later on in my talk show you what is done when you look at doing exercise also, because that's a little bit annoying in my mind, I guess, but that's the way it is. So the Kiesel 10 study was a big study done in Sweden. It started 20 years ago, where they took around 450 males, females, 75 years of age, and then they supplemented them with Q10 and selenium in those doses for 4 years. And then they looked at many different things, and I'll only go through some of the data today. But they looked at cardiovascular mortality. And if you look at the selenium Q10 group, then you can see that there's a huge difference in this outcome, right? So that's of course nice that you can live if you take this. That's maybe not fair to just translate it into that, but that's what this shows, right? But I like this figure, but I like a lot of the data that is coming with that, because it has so much effects on a healthy aging perspective. So now they have published more than 25 papers on this cohort. And I will show you some of the data. So when looking at baseline levels, cardiovascular mortality, then in one of the studies, they put participants with low selenium, medium selenium, and high selenium into the groups. And when they did that, they looked at ischemic heart disease, and they could see that if you were low on selenium, you were more prone to have ischemic heart disease compared to if you were high. If you then supplement people, so no matter if you're low or high, then you actually increase your selenium concentration in plasma. And if we look at the baseline levels down here, we can actually see that all of them are low compared to the figure I showed you before. So they are not nearly close to 140 micrograms per liter. When looking at cardiovascular mortality, so the red in the next figures, that's the active treated group, and the blue is the placebo group. They look at mortality after around 7 years, and you can see this big difference, right? Correlating to the figure I showed you before. When then looking at the long-term protection, so some of the participants has actually been followed up for 12 years now. When looking at that, we can actually see that the same is the case, and this should be thought that it's only the first 4 years that the study is actually providing those participants with with the supplements, right? So whether they are continue doing it here or they are not, that is not controlled, but it has been asked, I guess. When looking at ischemic heart disease, then it's the same case, and also when looking at type 2 diabetes. So a massive effect on these two components when looking at cardiovascular disease and mortality. Then they did a new analysis where they looked at selenium and selenoprotein. And here you can see that if you look at low selenoprotein or high, you can see that it is important for survival rate, right? And if you look at the whole group, placebo, again, blue, and the treated group, massive differences. When then looking at the telomere length, that's an important marker for aging. We can see down here that if you are low on selenoprotein or if you're high, you can see that these two figures are completely different, right? And if you then look at glutathione peroxidase, which is also important for oxidative stress, the same is the case. And if you then look at just the selenium concentration in the placebo group or the treated group, we can see that selenium drops selenoprotein drops in those that are low or in those that are not getting the supplement, right? So it makes sense. So I guess that this is, from an aging perspective, this is actually pretty neat data. And when looking at selenoprotein in the active and in the active treated group and the placebo group, this is massive differences. And this is actually what would be expected if you was like just living a normal life, right, without any supplementation. So what happens if you look into type 2 diabetes? So I guess in Denmark, around 10% of all Danes have type 2 diabetes. Can Q10 do something with this? And this is a busy slide, but it is a review that has collected a lot of information on studies that has been supplementing participants with diabetes with Q10. And down here you can see that there is a favor of placebo or favor of Q10, so depending on what side of the line there is. If looking at glycated hemoglobin, then you can see that it has a positive effect actually. And glycated hemoglobin is used many ways in many countries to give the diagnosed type 2 diabetes. So why is this actually the case? It could be because it has antioxidative capacity, right? And free radicals is linked to type 2 diabetes. When looking at other markers for metabolic health, then we can see that it also seems to have an effect on total cholesterol, and it also seems to have an effect on low-density lipoproteins. It does not seem to have any effect on BMI, as we can see up here, but still it is in the right side of the figure. But for sure, I guess that this study could indicate, and I know it needs to be done in a bigger scale, of course, but this could indicate that everybody should eat Q10, right? Because it is not harmful. You can eat a lot of grams a day without any side effects. And if it has this massive effect on glycated hemoglobin, that's something we should consider at least. So what happens if you then look at coenzyme Q10 and obesity? Because as I showed you before, we get more and more obese. This is a study that was done in females, and it's a small study, right? So only 29 participants. But you can see that when looking at this, that when looking at age and body composition, you can see that there is a huge variation in this group. So going from 53 to 133 kilograms. So huge span. And the same is also the case when looking at adipose tissue area. Then a huge span in that parameter, but also in all the clinical parameters like cholesterol, triglycerides, and so on. And when they then took samples from the visceral fat depot and the subcutaneous fat depot, and then they put them in BMI categories here, you can see that those with a low BMI actually has a high content of Q10 in both tissues. This is a cross-sectional area. Nobody has supplemented people with Q10 and looked at this. But I guess that's something we should actually consider. Because if you then look into low or high Q10, then we can see that there might be some differences with the oxidized or the reduced form. I'm a little bit skeptical because this analysis is not easy to do, so the tissue needs to be preserved in a specific way. But we can see that there is, of course, differences, and it seems like it is the reduced, if we believe in this data, that are increased in those with high Q10 levels. When then looking into taking the whole group and then putting people with low Q10 over here or high Q10, and then looking at the omental adipose tissue, so the visceral compared to the subcutaneous adipose tissue over here, we can see that the omental adipose tissue is very important for lifestyle diseases. And that is known, a lot of studies have been looking into that. So visceral fat is way more inflammatory than subcutaneous fat. But if you look at this, then we can see that if you have low Q10, then your BMI in this cross-sectional area is higher than if you have high Q10. Fat mass, the same thing. So total tissue, adipose tissue area, completely different, right? So this is something that could be cool to look more into. If you then look into the biochemistry, we can see that Not much is happening with cholesterol, but if you dig down to the glucose homeostasis, you can see that insulin in the fasting state is actually affected. And also this HOMA-IR, so that's a marker for insulin resistance if you stretch it a little bit, but it's also improved. And then also these inflammatory markers, so CRP is actually improved a lot. So this is, I guess, very interesting, and I would very much like to do a study if you could get access to samples pre-post a supplementation period. So they state that hypertrophic remodeling of visceral fat closely relates to depletion of Q10. Again, a tiny small study, but very interesting and nice data. So what happens to selenium intake in relation to body composition? And I haven't actually seen a lot of human studies, but I have seen this rat study, and I know we are not rats, but I'll still show it to you. So this OLED F rat, that's an obese rat. And you can see here that body weight is different because this guy is obese compared to this. If you add selenium, you reduces your weight. Looking into glucose homeostasis, you see the same thing. So area under the curve, so glucose concentration drops, insulin drops massively, right? Looking into weight of the abdominal fat stores does the same thing. And when you then take pictures, so you look into the adipocytes, as you can see here, then we can see that the diameter of the adipocyte is reduced. So that's the way it goes, right? So if you get obese, you increase the adipocyte diameter. And one of the issues is actually if you get obese, at least in humans, then some data indicates that you have a very, very hard time in actually reducing your adipocyte diameter again afterwards. So I guess that it could be interesting to look more into selenium and body weight, body composition. So this is a study where they have looked into dietary selenium intake. They haven't measured it. They have just asked people what they are eating, and then they have done that in around 3,000 participants, 2,000 women and around 1,000 men. This is just baseline characteristics, so a difference in age between men and women and so on. But when looking into the dietary intake, then you can see if you cluster them in normal weight, overweight, or obese, then you can see that from the questionnaires, the dietary selenium intake is completely the same in all groups. And then they introduced this idea about looking into dietary intake per kilo of body weight, right? And since the intake is the same, then when you get more and more obese, you get less and less selenium per kilo body weight. So that makes sense. It would have been nice to have looked into blood concentration as well, right? But when doing this and then looking at low, medium, or high selenium intake, then we can actually see that it seemed to be affected on the weight, right? So both in males and females, but also in body composition. So waist to hip ratio is affected. Abdominal fat tissue is also affected and so on. So I think there's something here we don't know that much about that could be interesting to look more into. Then can you add Q10 as an extra therapy to cardiovascular disease and hypertension? And this is a review done where they looked at Q10 supplementation in relation to primarily cardiovascular disease, but also hypertension. And they conclude that predominantly older adult males with cardiovascular disease would benefit from Q10 supplementation. Then they state implications for practice down here. Coach Q, as we learned before, helps to produce energy. It's an antioxidant. Q10 decreases with age and in patients with cardiovascular disease. And then they state this, that Q10 supplements may increase serum Q10. I think that has been shown. And then they are actually also stating this, that it should be considered as an add-on therapy. And when looking at these data, and that this is a busy slide, but you should look here that this is reduced cardiovascular mortality when using an oxidized form of Q10. Then you can see that there are studies. This is the Symbio study I showed you before. It seems like it is beneficial for cardiovascular mortality. When adding selenium on top of Q10, we can actually see that the same is the case. Of course, a lot of these studies down here, that's coming from the same cohort, but still there is a study from 94 up here that is showing the same. And interestingly, then, if you look at the reduced form of Q10, then we don't see anything. So one of the issues here could be that few studies, low number of N, but I learned from Jørn yesterday that the reduced form is not produced as a medical supplement. So it's not that controlled compared to the oxidized form. So I guess that there is something on it when you look at Q10 and cardiovascular disease. And this is one of my last slides I will show you, because why don't we then just do exercise if we want to reduce cardiovascular mortality? This is a cool study that was done some years ago in US. It has been recruiting 5,000 people with type 2 diabetes. They have put an intervention group with weight loss, caloric restriction, and then they have asked them to do 175 minutes of moderate intensity exercise per week, so 3 hours for 1 year, and then a control group. And when looking at weight, then we see that the 1 year the intervention is lasting, you drop around 8-10% in weight. Your physical fitness increases, waist circumference is reduced, which is good for the risk of type 2 diabetes, as I showed you before, but also glycated hemoglobin is dropping from being diabetic down to borderline diabetes, right? But the annoying thing when you like exercise and exercise physiology is that as soon as they get back to their normal lives, everything is coming back to what it was before, right? So physical activity, it's always nice if you have something that is pushing you and you are meeting people and you are forced to do it. But as long as you need to do it yourself, it just disappears, right? And when then looking into cardiovascular mortality, and if you remember that one with the Q10 I showed you earlier on in the talk, right, then those two lines are completely on top of each other. So doing exercise, it doesn't really do anything for this marker. It does something for your weight, and if you continue doing it, it does also something. It could have been interesting if they had been continuing doing exercise, right? Because this is only doing exercise the first year. So we don't know that because it's so difficult to implement exercise into the daily life of people. And then just to see what is happening if you are combining Q10 and exercise, there has not been done that many studies. This is a tiny, tiny study where they have looked at it, and they have like data from the study from baseline, then a Q10 group, Q10 plus endurance training, placebo, and placebo plus endurance training. It's 8 weeks of training. The funny thing, because this is actually, I think there's 2 or 3 studies that has been done only on Q10 supplementation. This is the best one, and it's not really good because they are doing it in 7 participants, and it's the same participants in this group, So they have like a washout period in between, which is critical for evaluating the data for sure. But if looking at VO2 max, which the higher the better, then you can actually see that VO2 max is increased a little bit, non-significantly with Q10, a little bit more when you combine Q10 and endurance training. And it seems like if you only take endurance training and Q10, those 2 numbers are comparable. They don't state anything if they are back to this number before they are putting the same participant into the next group. And then again, of course, peak work rate. So how many watts can you actually bike when you are biking on an ergometer? It is following the same things. So I think it would also be nice to do this again, but in a little bit more controlled way to see if there is an effect on Q10 alone and an additive effect of Q10 and exercise. When looking at the blood chemistry, then luckily we can see that Q10 is increased. When you take Q10, that's not a big surprise, but that's the only thing that is happening. And then they looked at ejection fraction also, and it seems, even though not significant, then it seems like something is happening with Q10 and exercise compared to the baseline data. So this is almost what I had for you today, but regarding cardiovascular disease, then there is a study going on in UK now, where they are supplementing participants with Q10. They have included, I guess, 400 participants now. Then there is a big study going on in Denmark starting up, where they are doing the same as the Kiesel 10 study, looking into Q10 selenium or Q10 or selenium alone, and then a study in Holland, in Europe as well, where they are doing with the same combination. So I guess this is interesting to look out for those data points. And then the last thing is also interesting, because what is happening with selenium and Q10 when we have this drug that is reducing weight? There is a huge aging conference going on every year in Denmark, this Aging Research Drug Discovery meeting. And last August in 2025, there was a couple of people from Novo Nordisk and a couple of people from Eli Lilly that came and made a presentation. And then they stated that is GLP-1 the first longevity drug? And it could be, but I would like to see what is happening to all these important things that are going on, because I understand that it's nice that people are losing weight, but I'm concerned about what is happening to metabolism and physiology when they're losing weight that fast. And I'm not completely concerned that it's good for everybody. But there was a paper published in Nature Biotechnology that is stating the same, which is fun to read. And I think it makes sense, I mean, because it has a lot of effects all around the body. But I'm skeptical and a little concerned. So with that, I would say thank you for not falling asleep yet. And I would be happy to take questions if you have any.
Due to the very great presentation, I have heard you talk about the look-ahead trial with the the first published in New England 2013, and then in Lancet the year after. They show that the primary outcome not met. Between two groups, the primary outcome not met of the cardiovascular death, decrease the cardiovascular death.
Yeah.
And there is, I remember that there is some review, like a post-hoc analysis of the benefit in cardiovascular death may positive if we pick up only weight control.
Yeah.
So the effects of weight control itself, do you think it is reasonable to try everywhere, even give the GLP-1 in the normal people to expect for the effect of longevity? And what is the biomarkers or race group phenotype in your idea?
So that's a big question and an interesting question. So I don't know if there has been studies going on in lean people as you're talking about. I think there is a couple of smaller studies actually that has been done. I can't remember the data on that. I would guess that there should be differences between populations. But I'm not aware of studies that has been, I mean, it has been a lot of studies going on in the US and in Europe on the big clinical trials where they see all these beneficial effects on obese and overweight participants. But I'm actually not sure. I haven't seen the data, but it might be out there.
Yes, I have one idea that due to I work as a distributor of True Age, methylation biological age in Thailand, and I talk to team in True Age, many aspects. One aspect in my idea that there may be effect that two groups in the randomized trial start with a different biological marker. They are different in biological aging.
Yeah.
Because now we try to reproduce many trials that is not positive primary outcome 10 years before by adjust or pick up the biobank blood and recheck. When we recheck and do the biological test and we match biological aging of the same group, because sometimes in the randomized trial, control group may be biological ager older
Yeah, yeah,
than the experiment group that mimics the effects of the treatment arms.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think we should talk in the break because we have done a study I'm affiliated to a group in Poland also, and we have actually done a 1,000 participants weight loss trial. So if you're saying you have data from Thailand on that could be very interesting to look into, actually.
We can publish because we are a private company. We act as a service distributor in Thailand.
Yeah.
But I see the data, and now we dig deeper to the cardiovascular age. We didn't test biological age. We test organ age. We can test cardiovascular age, immune age, metabolic age differently. Some people is ager in some aspect, not overall.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Another question?
ขอถามไทยนะคะคือเห็นอาจารย์ว่า Q10 กินเยอะๆก็ไม่เป็นไรเหรอคะแล้วทำไมเซเลเนียมถ้ากินเยอะก็อันตรายได้ใช่ไหมแล้วเมื่อกี้อาจารย์พูดซีรีโปรคืออะไรมันคือเซเลเนียมโปรตีนเหรอคะ
Selenoprotein เดี๋ยวผมถามให้นะครับ
แล้วก็คือเคยอ่าน leaflet เขาบอกว่าถ้ากิน Q10 ร่วมกับพวก Coumadin พวก anticoagulant อาจจะมีอันตรายได้ แต่ถ้ากิน Q10 ร่วมกับantiplatelet เช่น aspirin หรือ clopidogrel จะไม่อันตรายอย่างนี้ถูกต้องไหมคะ
เดี๋ยวผมถามให้ครับ Okay, so there's actually 3 questions in that question. Question number 1 would be for CoQ10, what is the upper limit and what's the toxicity of CoQ10? Question number 2 would be just now we saw the U-shaped curve of selenium, and then you did present that the more selenium, the better outcome that's actually past the data that's shown in a U-shaped curve. So what is the actual upper limit? Let's take those 2 questions first.
So it has been shown that Q10 can be given up to 3 grams a day without any side effects. So that is published data. For the selenium, the European safety regulation says that you can at least take in 255 micrograms. What that corresponds to in concentration, I don't think we actually know.
ก็CoQ10 นะครับน่าจะได้ถึง 3,000 มิลลิกรัมอันนี้คือใน study แล้วยังไม่เกิด toxicity อะครับส่วนโซเลเนียมตามยุโรปไกด์ไลน์เขาเจอว่ามันทานได้ถึง 255 ไมโครกรัมแต่ขนาดทาน 255 ไมโครกรัมมันก็ยังไม่ได้ upper limit ในเซรั่มเขาก็เลยยังไม่รู้ว่า upper limit ของโซเลเนียมคือเท่าไหร่ครับ Now the third question is the interactions between CoQ10 and anticoagulants. Which ones can you take it with I mean, which anticoagulants can you take with CoQ10 and which can't?
That's a good question. And I'm not a medical doctor, but I know it has an interaction with warfarin, right? So I don't know the drug names that you should not use, but I can figure it out and get back to you.
ครับเขาบอกว่าเขารู้แค่ถึงวอร์ฟารินนะครับแต่ว่าตัวอื่นยังไม่แน่ใจแต่เดี๋ยวเขาจะพยายามเสิร์ชให้แล้วก็เดี๋ยวจะให้คำตอบครับ
คือ if we use CoQ10 with antiplatelet like aspirin or clopidogrel, is there any side effect? For warfarin, I know that maybe we have to be careful, but with the aspirin and clopidogrel.
Yeah, I must say I actually don't know, but Jørgen, do you know studies on aspirin and Q10?
The medical registration.
Okay.
In my experience, I do see that too. Like I give and it didn't increase INR or bleeding time. But that's just from my experience that I've seen. We have yet to see side effects. It hasn't happened under my watch, but I haven't seen any side effects. Jeffrey, you have any interactions between aspirin? No, right?
So we can use it safely with antiplatelet, okay?
I guess just closely monitor would be a great way.
Monitor what? Because when we give to patient and they don't have any problem, we don't check the blood for any. We don't know how to see the side effect.
One of my techniques would be if I'm not really sure, and it's aspirin. Usually we don't check for INR anyway for aspirin. We would look for bruising. We would make sure that the platelet's not low. So every 3-6 months, there's always a blood test to make sure that the platelets isn't too low. And I think that's just one way of monitoring. But if there's no side effect after having 2 years of taking it, I don't think it's from CoQ10 and aspirin anymore at that point. I think we have time for one more question.
I have questions about selenium. The treatment that the dose of selenium that in the journal that effective for cardiovascular health is around 200 microgram, right? But practically the formula of the Pharma is only 50. And if we give CoQ10 1 tablet and selenium, we should give up to like 4 tablet or 5 tablets.
Yeah.
So I believe that you are having the new formula for CoQ10 plus something. Is it available in the market?
Do you know that? You would be the one to answer it.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite sure what the question was. If we have a new formula of the CoQ10,
Yes.
we have in the market a 100 milligram capsule. 100 milligram capsule. And the reason for not having 200 milligram or 300 milligram is that the maximum dose for an efficient uptake is 100 milligram of dosing. It means if you want to take 200 milligram or 300 milligram, you have to divide the dose. If you take 200 milligram, take morning, evening. And if you want to have 300 milligram, you take it morning, noon, and evening.
And you also asked for selenium, right? So
The selenium, we have 50 microgram tablets in Thailand. Not our decision, that is the Thai FDA. Okay. But, 50 micrograms into the diet intake in Thailand, within the optimal window presentation.
I think it's the same problem that we have. The patient come back and discuss with us about, the dosage that we offer to the patient. Is that adequate or optimal for the health or not? I agree that, maybe Thai FDA is so strict about, the instruction to use. But if you look at the instruction of the Pharma product, mostly they just say 1 or 2 capsules per day and that's it, which will not get any beneficial to the patient at all. And right now, the patient, they are quite smart and clever. They go to look at the journal and they look at the dosage of the vitamin and supplement that you're taking. So I think it's time for Pharma to fight with the Thai FDA, to put the right instruction for Thai patient, just for benefit of the Thai patient. I think that it will be the very good one. Otherwise, what the doctor said will be contradict to the instruction that has been labeled on the Pharma packaging. Thank you for that.
Supplement is maximum 30 milligrams. But we have 100 milligrams, but we have registered as a medicine. So that's why we can have it, right? For selenium, they say 50 micrograms. 50 micrograms will get most people into based in the window of being optimal. But of course, if you're really low, you should take more tablets. But we would like to take the fight with the Thai FDA. It's going to take some time.
No, but when you say that, the patient need more tablets, I think that we have a big argument from the patient side, say that, totally cost for them to consume the vitamin and supplements of Pharma Nord. There will be rip off and no money at the end.
We need it.
I think it needs to be much more practical for the patient also, to take the vitamin and supplement.
I think that's the end of the time that we have. We'll go on to our coffee break, and we'll be back at 2:50 p.m. Thank you so much for your presentation. I guess there's no, if you're exercising without CoQ10, that's no difference from just taking CoQ10 based on that. Have a great break. We'll be back at 2:50 p.m. Our next speaker is Dr. Jeffrey Strong, a naturopathic physician from Seattle, USA, with extensive training in primary care and deep specialization in complementary and alternative medicine, especially in the science of technology, where he is internationally recognized. Dr. Strong earned his Doctor of Naturopathic Medicine from Bastyr University in 2004. After completing his bachelor's degree in Japanese at the University of Washington, where he was also a member of Golden Key National Honor Society. Me too, we have a lot of similarities. And he's very fluent in Japanese, by the way. His academic and professional background is remarkably diverse. He previously practiced at the Northwest Center for Optimal Health in Washington State, and later served as an assistant professor in clinical research and development in complementary and alternative medicine in Kanazawa University in Japan. Since 2005, he has taken a key leadership role at Horfag Research Asia and now serves as the scientific director for Asia and as well as the Japan country manager. His work centers on advancing the scientific understanding and clinical applications of pycnogenol through the region. Dr. Strong is also actively involved in several respected scientific societies, including the Japanese Society for Complementary and Alternative Medicine, where he serves as a board member, and the Japanese Society of Anti-Aging Medicine. About 3 years ago, Dr. Strong approached me after one of my talks, and I remembered how excited I was to meet another naturopathic physician from Bastyr University. Here in this part of the world, in Thailand, we often hear comments that supplements and nutraceuticals are not a standard and that we need an expert to understand the clinical training behind it. As a naturopathic physician, we study from the moment we enter medical school, and Dr. Strong is a perfect example of how rigorous training and clinical experience create meaningful expertise, probably better than mine, especially in the field of pycnogenol. Please give me a warm welcome for Dr. Jeffrey Strong.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that very nice introduction. I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks as well to Pharma Nord for the kind invitation to come and share my talk with you today on pycnogenol. And today I'll be talking about the research-proven clinical benefits to help to promote healthy aging. Okay, and it's a broad overview. Pycnogenol has a long history, more than 50 years in the marketplace, originally developed as a pharmaceutical product, so long history of research, and so it's not a panacea, it's not going to cure everything, but I hope you will get a good understanding of some of the potential benefits to lower disease risk and promote healthy aging. So quite a list here. I have 120 slides, so we'll go a little bit fast-paced, but go through the basics of what pycnogenol is, and then through the specific areas of health, cardiovascular, eye health, joint health, cognitive, and skin health, with some little bonuses thrown in here and there. So what is pycnogenol? It is a natural extract from the bark of the French maritime pine tree. It is the modern version of the first preparations that Hippocrates first wrote about in helping to promote human health in his works back 2,500 years ago. So the use of pine bark extract, or pine bark, in promoting human health has a very, very long history. Now, the modern extract comes from a unique species of pine tree called the French maritime pine tree that grows exclusively in this region in the southwest corner of France. Historically, this region was a swamp that had ocean water mixing with groundwater very far inland. So the soil content is used to thousands of years of very high mineral content from the ocean. Around the time of Napoleon III, they wanted to do a land reclamation project, so they started planting the pine trees because pine trees require a lot of water. So the water went down, the land was reclaimed, and now it's the largest pine forest in Europe, more than 2.5 million acres. So the modern extract of pycnogenol is standardized to its procyanidin content to be 70 plus or minus 5% procyanidins. But it is a natural extract, so it has other phenolic acids, free catechin, epicatechin, taxifolin, these other compounds that are working in concert in the body to provide the health benefits that we see. It takes 1,000 kilograms of the bark to make only 1 kilogram of pycnogenol, so it's a very highly concentrated source. So this I basically just explained, the standardization to the procyanidin content and the detailed chemical composition of the product of pycnogenol is equal in match to the United States Pharmacopoeia monograph for maritime pine. So at Horfag Research, we take the quality of our products extremely, we value them very highly. And every batch of pycnogenol is produced according to GMP pharmaceutical grade standards. And every batch is tested for quality control with the United States Pharmacopoeia monograph. Safety-wise, historically, pycnogenol, again, was originally sold as a pharmaceutical. And there are still some markets where it is sold as an OTC pharmaceutical in South America, mostly. And so it has been tested as a pharmaceutical for toxicity and been found to be extremely safe, even with many, many clinical studies. And this is where the efficacy has been proven in the research. More than 160 clinical trials. We continue to invest more than $1.5 million in research every year to provide new clinical data for new stories to tell about the safety and efficacy of pycnogenol. And it's been on the market for more than 50 years as a pharmaceutical or health food product, and there have been no serious side effect reports to date. So just another summary here. These numbers have all grown. There's now more than 15,000 patients worth of data behind it, more than 500 scientific publications. So if you were to go to PubMed and look, you would see, using the brand name pycnogenol, more than 500 publications there. Mechanisms of action, to simplify the story, we bring it to these. Now, originally, why it was used and developed as a pharmaceutical is this purpose here. It was shown to significantly strengthen the blood vessels and improve the flow of blood in the blood vessels back 50 years ago. And we now know that it supports better nitric oxide production and really strengthens and helps to revitalize the endothelial function, and so has great support for the cardiovascular system. Since then, the research has shown that it is a very powerful natural antioxidant. That's why it's been given the nickname a super antioxidant. But it also acts as a natural anti-inflammatory, blocking various inflammatory pathways in the body, and even reducing pain in conditions like in menstrual health, dysmenorrhea, endometriosis, or joint health, osteoarthritis, etc. And then particularly for the connective tissue and skin health, pycnogenol has been shown to bind to collagen and elastin, and then it helps to protect it through its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory action. But at the same time, it's been shown in clinical studies to upregulate the genetic expression and then production of collagen, as well as the enzyme hyaluronic acid synthase for better hyaluronic acid production. We at Horfag have even gone so far as to not just look at the complete extract, but to study the metabolites and what is their efficacy. And we know that there's a very close relationship with the GI flora and these polyphenol compounds. They've even in more recent times been where polyphenols have been given the name, there we go. Polyphenols have been given another name as being prebiotics because they help to increase the amount of quote unquote the good bacteria in our guts. and they are preferred food for these bacteria. And these bacteria help to produce these metabolites that help to produce the benefits we see with pycnogenol. So it has been studied and shown that with pycnogenol, the blood concentration level of these metabolites is really quite low. So it brought up the question, how can it be having all these benefits with such a low blood level concentration? And it was investigated and found that the metabolites of pycnogenol actually are selectively taken up by the GLUT4 transport proteins, and they reside in different tissues in the body. So they're carried around throughout the body in the red blood cells. They are carried in the white blood cells as well. I think the battery is dying on this. There we go. And they also are selectively taken up into the endothelial cells where they can directly provide a tissue-specific action. So just for example, in the case of the endothelial tissue, you can see that the increase in uptake of these metabolites there help to promote better endothelial health, better endothelial function, and better blood flow. In the case of the immune system, pycnogenol has an immune modulating effect, where if you have like chronic inflammation, particularly this low-grade chronic inflammation, pycnogenol can be very good at decreasing this chronic low-level inflammatory response. And again, not just the complete extract, but also the metabolites show a very strong antioxidant effect. So this is repeatedly studied in the research, and essentially every method possible to measure antioxidant effect in human studies has been used in evaluating pycnogenol. Even though it's a water-soluble compound, it is extremely good at even preventing the oxidation of lipids, as well as the DNA and/or proteins. Simple in vitro study conducted at Showa University in Japan, looking at the oxidation or preventing the oxidation of retinal lipids in the eye. And this was compared to some common antioxidants, and you could see even compared to other polyphenol extracts that pycnogenol was far and away the most powerful antioxidant investigated in this study. Pycnogenol also has interesting effects on our body's own natural antioxidant defenses. So superoxide dismutase, glutathione, and catalase. This was using the complete extract in an in vitro study, but it was shown that by simply applying the extract to endothelial cells, that there was a significant boost in the activity of these enzymes, as well as the concentration of glutathione within the cells. So it's in vitro using the complete extract, but this finding has been repeated in multiple animal studies and in some human studies as well by oral dosing. So you can see that you see the same thing with the significant increases in the amount of glutathione, as well as the activity of the enzymes catalase and superoxide dismutase. And even with a relatively low dose of only 50 milligrams per day, you can see that in as little as 2 weeks, you can see a significant decrease in the amount of free radicals in the bloodstream. So this particular study used healthy individuals, but they were smokers. So they had a higher level of free radical stress. They were given placebo or pycnogenol, and you can see that within 8 to 12 weeks or 8 to 10 weeks, there was about a 40% reduction in the level of free radicals in the bloodstream. And this is reducing it from a high level down to what would be considered a healthy level. And then the glutathione sparing effect has also been shown in clinical studies. So this particular study was involving children between the ages of 6 and 14, looking for the benefit in ADHD. And they were using a standard dose of 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight in the study. And they showed that compared to placebo, there was a significant reduction in the amount of the oxidized glutathione and a significant increase in the reduced glutathione. So there's more glutathione around for it to do its very, very valuable effects, whether it's detoxification or acting as an antioxidant. And this is important because it's important to support our antioxidant systems, because the more free radicals around, this will trigger this inflammation. that as we age can build up more. And then you get this idea of inflammaging, where low-level chronic grade inflammation continues to damage our cells in our bodies. And with more inflammation, this promotes more free radicals. And so you get this vicious cycle continuing. And pycnogenol can work very well to help to stop this. So these are some of the mechanisms and anti-inflammatory actions that have been identified with pycnogenol here, beginning with the reduction of the activation of NF-kappa B itself, which is the master switch of inflammation. So you see a reduced amount of COX-2 and 5-LOX in the body, as well as a significant inhibitory action on the enzymes themselves. The same can be said for the MMP enzymes, for the connective tissue, protecting connective tissue. And then you see significant reductions of pro-inflammatory mediators like tumor necrosis factor alpha or IL-6. And these benefits have been proven in multiple, and these responses have been also seen in many, many different conditions. So for cardiovascular health, pycnogenol is most well known for its function on the endothelial of tissue. And it supports the microcirculation throughout the whole body. Platelet aggregation can be decreased slightly. This is because pycnogenol is upregulating nitric oxide. It also helps to control blood sugar. The mechanism is through inhibition of the alpha-glucosidase enzyme. It lowers blood pressure, and it can also help to normalize the blood lipids. Related to edema and swelling, again, one of the original applications for pycnogenol as a pharmaceutical, pycnogenol is very good at helping to strengthen the blood vessels, and therefore it helps to reduce swelling significantly. And it can promote better circulation in the legs and throughout the body. So the areas, or I should say the mechanisms of action that pycnogenol has, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, promoting overall full body circulatory health, these are really the foundation of our health and need to be protected as we age. So that's why you see such a broad-ranging benefit when people take pycnogenol. Again, it's not a panacea, it's not going to cure everything, but it can have an impact on a lot of things. So cardiovascular health benefits, just to review, many, many health benefits have been proven in many, many clinical studies. You can see the list of references here. And just to go through some of them and why they are important, of course, endothelial dysfunction is one of the first triggers for the development of atherosclerosis, the root cause of heart disease. And this could result in, be due to many things, long-term high blood pressure, high blood sugar, damaging the endothelium, and then resulting in worse blood flow and lower nitric oxide production. So pycnogenol and its metabolites help to boost endothelial function, upregulate nitric oxide production, causing the smooth muscle cells to relax around the blood vessels, better vasodilation, better blood flow. And so just a one-slide summary of some of the data that has been reported. You see significant improvement in blood vessel function. This has been shown in multiple studies to help lower blood pressure, improve cholesterol levels. This may be a different mechanism, but it's definitely been shown. Decrease platelet aggregation and improve kidney function. Of course, the kidneys are basically bundles of tiny blood vessels, so blood flow is vitally important here. And then it's even been shown in long-term studies to slow down the progression very significantly of atherosclerosis. So the mechanism of action related to boosting nitric oxide has even been proven in a human pharmacological study that was done at the University of Hiroshima. This was an interesting study because we had nothing to do with it. And I always love that when you see those. The researchers there bought pycnogenol products off the market, and they compared it to a placebo. And they measured blood flow in the forearm using plethysmography. And they gave the subjects either pycnogenol or placebo for 2 weeks. And then they injected acetylcholine into the blood vessels of the arm Of course, acetylcholine stimulates more nitric oxide release. So even with placebo, you're going to see an increase in the blood flow. Now, taking pycnogenol, you're already upregulating the nitric oxide production. So when acetylcholine is introduced in the presence of pycnogenol, you saw a far more pronounced improvement in blood flow. So about 1.5 times greater than the placebo in this study. And in this same study, they used an enos blocker, so they blocked the enzyme that produced nitric oxide. And when they did this, they saw that this action disappeared. So it's very clear that even in human beings, this is the mechanism of action. So an interesting study, since we're talking about coenzyme Q10 here, combination with pycnogenol and coenzyme Q10 is used a lot and can be seen in the marketplace. This was a study done with heart failure patients. And it was a rather small study, but an interesting study. And they used pycnogenol combined with coenzyme Q10, a pycnogenol group by itself, and then just a standard, this was compared to a standard medical care treatment group here as the control. So pycnogenol and pycnogenol coenzyme Q10 were added on top of the standard care. So you can see after 3 months of treatment with standard care, there was no significant increase in heart function here, but the ejection fraction increased significantly with pycnogenol alone, and then even better with the combination of pycnogenol and coenzyme Q10. And in the same study, as a result of this, they saw significant improvement in function. Exercise tolerance was significantly improved in both the pycnogenol and coenzyme Q10 groups. In addition to this, the heart rate was significantly lowered, respiratory rate, systolic blood pressure, and diastolic blood pressure were all improved. A related study, not in heart failure, but in this case, this was with elderly adults that were entering into sarcopenia. So they were losing muscle mass with age. And they were put on a treatment regimen of exercise, given diet and lifestyle recommendations. And both groups were doing the same diet and lifestyle recommendations and exercise program. And one group was given pycnogenol. And you could see that the pycnogenol group, their exercise performance increased significantly across the board. Hand grip is over here on this far side here, and it increased significantly only with the addition of pycnogenol rather than just the exercise. So very nice effect here, and overall fitness score improved very nicely of 42% at the end of 8 weeks. And the other interesting thing, and related to the previous study, was that ejection fraction improved in these patients. These are not heart disease patients. They're elderly and they're suffering from sarcopenia, so reduced muscle loss they're seeing. So the heart is a muscle. Pycnogenol here is also improving the ejection fraction in these subjects as well. So talking about healthy aging, preserving the muscle that we have, this shows one potential possibility with pycnogenol. Of course, exercise is needed as well. Very interesting study from the University of Zurich, from their heart transplantation clinic there. The deputy director there, Dr. Enselite, approached us because he was basically tired of seeing all his patients at the end of this road of heart disease. And he wanted something that could work to improve his treatments, but also potentially help to slow down the process of and prevent this need for a heart transplant, essentially. So he designed a very rigorous study, a small number of patients, but a gold standard design, placebo-controlled, double-blind, crossover study. And these subjects had all had a heart attack or a stroke in the previous 12 months. So they were all under strict pharmaceutical care, taking multiple medications, some of them taking 17 different medications at the same time. In addition to this, they were given pycnogenol at a relatively high dose of 200 milligrams per day or a placebo. And it was 8 weeks and they crossed over. And the result was that only when the pycnogenol group, only when they were taking pycnogenol group, did you see a significant improvement in endothelial function. So an absolute 2% increase, but this is a clinically significant improvement. and the relative increase compared to baseline would be 32%. So a significant improvement in vascular function in these people with severe heart disease. And in this study, there are people here with blood thinning medications as well. So about 17% were on these blood thinners here. And there were no negative interactions reported with pycnogenol and the blood thinners in this study. But even in the microcirculation, so a good example is in the ear. We have just one small artery and vein in the ear supplying blood flow there. And tinnitus, so the ringing in the ear, and Meniere's disease can be associated with poor blood flow in the ear. So this study looked at subjects who exactly had that. They had poor blood flow in the ear, and they were exhibiting these symptoms. And they were given a pycnogenol at a dose of 100 milligrams per day. And they took this over the course of 4 weeks, and they saw a significant improvement in the blood flow, both in the systolic and diastolic in the ear. And this was associated with a significant decrease in the tinnitus symptoms, so the ringing in the ear, but also the symptoms of Meniere's disease, dizziness, and drop attacks, and these types of symptoms as well. So even in the microvessels, you can see these benefits. For blood sugar, it has been studied and shown that pycnogenol significantly decreases the activity of the alpha-glucosidase enzyme. And so this is a relative inhibition here, but you can see relatively that green tea extract and catechin by itself, also the drug acarbose, had a significantly lower inhibitory effect on the acarbose enzyme. I'm sorry, the alpha-glucosidase enzyme. And this supports the clinical benefits that we have seen. There are multiple clinical studies related to this. So this particular study involved type 2 diabetic patients, and they were given differing doses to measure the effect with the differing doses. And you can see very clearly with as low as 50 milligrams that the blood glucose after a meal was significantly decreased. Increasing the dose to 100 milligrams per day had a very significant increase, a total of about 15.3% here. And so you could see that, I'm sorry, the actual amount is 10% here, but this is very close to a pharmaceutical effect at this point. And for after a meal, the blood glucose effect was down to 18.3 reduction. So very, very nice effect at helping to lower blood sugar in diabetics. Related to cholesterol and triglycerides, again, this has been reported in multiple studies. The slide over here, or this graph over here, is referring to cholesterol changes. So the LDL cholesterol has been shown to decrease on average between 7 and 10%. And then the increase in the HDL is similar, between 5 and 10% is typically seen. So it's a moderate effect. And then for triglycerides, this has been shown in more recent studies to have a nice significant effect. So the target goal would have been 150 here, but didn't quite get there in 6 months, but it did decrease significantly here. So nice effect on improving lipids in the bloodstream and reducing cardiovascular risk. For related to blood pressure, pycnogenol has been studied with many different medications here, so calcium channel blockers and ACE inhibitors, and it's been shown to be effective in helping to better stabilize or normalize blood pressure and even allow for the reduction of medication. So this is a good thing. These medications can have side effects very commonly. There's another study that shows that pycnogenol can even reduce the side effects with these medications as well. So kind of shifting gears a little bit here. So this is kind of a bonus in here, but it is a problem with aging in men, BPH, benign prostatic hyperplasia. And this was a very interesting study because it compared pycnogenol to an untreated control group and a control group using standard pharmaceutical care for BPH. It was a relatively short-term study of 8 weeks. And of course, BPH is the enlargement of the prostate, which sits just under the bladder. And so you see many urinary symptoms in men, and it's very, very common in men with age. So the benefits on residual bladder volume. So how well are the men able to vacate their bladder? And you could see that pycnogenol was most effective at improving this by a reduction of 51%. They were able to significantly eliminate better, and this was better than the pharmaceutical treatment as well. But it really stood out in the other symptoms related to BPH. Of course, the pharmaceutical treatments can take up to 6 months to reach their maximum efficacy. In an 8-week study, it was clear that pycnogenol was much faster at helping to reduce these symptoms you could see here. Of course, emptying we just discussed, but a very significant reduction there. But symptoms like frequency, intermittency, urgency, and then the most important one, I think, is nocturia. So, sleep is vitally important for maintaining health at any age, but particularly as we get older. And if you can reduce the amount of times that you have to get up in the middle of the night, which significantly disturbs sleep, you can have overall better sleep quality and healthier life. And pycnogenol is very effective at doing this in these men. So good news for us men. And then related back to cardiovascular health, but also in the same region, talking about the improvement in cardiovascular health and this benefit related to sexual health, or in this case, male erectile function. And this, again, was a smaller study. It was interesting in design because it had different groups. There was diabetics, and then there was non-diabetics. And it was a placebo-controlled study with both groups. So there were essentially 4 treatment groups here. And it was a 3-month study. So looking at the cardiovascular parameter of LDL cholesterol, you could see that at the start of the study, particularly the pycnogenol group was a bit high here. But by the end of the study, at 1 month already, it was down significantly. And at 3 months, it was back down to a much more healthy level. Placebo was basically unchanged. And then looking at the non-diabetics, it was quite similar as well. Again, the pycnogenol group had a higher level of LDL here. And even in the non-diabetics, you saw a significant reduction, which was very similar to the previous diabetic slide and reducing LDL cholesterol. Then they also looked at blood glucose, which is also a risk factor for heart disease. And you can see that the fasting blood glucose in the patients with diabetes, so clearly very elevated blood glucose here, and adding pycnogenol, they were able to get much better control of their blood glucose, still elevated, but significantly reduced. And the non-diabetics, so healthy blood glucose levels to begin with, but even so, adding pycnogenol was able to reduce it further and make it near the optimal range here. So the result of this, improving cardiovascular parameters, blood glucose control, and cholesterol in this case, in addition to its effect on improving blood flow, you can see an improvement in erectile function or erectile quality in many men. And so this is looking at men that have a moderate level of erectile dysfunction. And so in the diabetic subjects, you could see that already clearly in the moderate range. Within 1 month, they're already seeing significant improvement, and this continued at 3 months, moving from moderate to mild to moderate range of erectile dysfunction. So significant improvement in a relatively short period of time. And then those subjects who did not have diabetes, but only moderate levels of erectile dysfunction, you could see again, as fast as 1 month, you're seeing improvement. And this continued and was better in this group here at 3 months as well. So improving the cardiovascular health parameters will also improve erectile function. And then of great interest to us was a recent third-party, completely independent meta-analysis looking at different pine bark extracts in the market and comparing them for their effect in cardiometabolic risk factors. This was published just earlier this year in February. And the summary is basically here that pycnogenol was most effective at helping to improve these risk factors more than the other pine bark extracts. And in graphical form, it's here. So I basically hid the names of the other pine bark brand names. But just for reference here, you can see that pycnogenol was the only pine bark extract that was effective at lowering both diastolic and systolic blood pressure significantly. Fasting blood sugar, again, pycnogenol was easily the most effective here. And then related to reducing BMI, you could see this is a mild effect, but it was the only one that was really effective at helping to improve this. And then related to cholesterol, again, pycnogenol was the only pine bark extract that was shown to be clearly effective in helping to lower total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. So interesting news and from a third-party meta-analysis. A similar one also published earlier this year on chronic venous insufficiency treatments. So this is not other pine bark extracts, but other over-the-counter pharmaceutical treatments for chronic venous insufficiency. And you could see in the graph here that pycnogenol was rated the highest in its efficacy for improving symptoms of CVI, much better than the other treatment options that are commonly used. So it's very good for this action, and I mean, it still uses a pharmaceutical for this action, particularly in South America, but also in Switzerland as well. So just to summarize, for cardiovascular health benefits, again, it's all of the actions working together, improving endothelial function, strengthening the blood vessels, decreasing free radical stress, decreasing inflammation in the circulatory system, helping to improve the blood sugar, blood pressure, and blood lipids, improve full body endothelial function, helping to decrease the risk of abnormal blood clotting, and improve microcirculation as well. So eye health benefits, a lot of these really stretch from the endothelial health benefits, but you can see there are many studies that have been published related to pycnogenol in eye health. And most of these are related to retinopathy, because this is really a vascular condition, but just in the eyes. And more than 1,200 patients worth of data, multiple clinical studies here. I'll show you a more recent study here. So this was type 2 diabetics who were developing diabetic retinopathy in the very early stages. So they had minimal visual changes at this time, but they were given pycnogenol or placebo, and they were measuring the thickness of the retinal tissue. So basically looking at swelling in the back of the eye. And the normal level is 450 micrometers. Above that, you can diagnose diabetic retinopathy. So you can see already in 8 weeks taking pycnogenol, the dose used was 150 milligrams per day, so it was a higher dose, but it was effective to basically stop the progression of retinopathy. And so these patients would no longer be considered, at least by retinal thickness here, to be having diabetic retinopathy. And they also had a very significant improvement in the blood flow, but only in the pycnogenol group. And as a result of this, they saw significant improvement in the visual acuity of these subjects. So 78% of the subjects in the pycnogenol group had significant improvement in their visual acuity, whereas there was no change in the placebo group. Another area where this is effective is retinal vein thrombosis. So this is a troubling condition because if it happened once, it's very common for it to happen again. And this is basically an abnormal blood clot forming in the retinal vein, and this could lead to blindness or blind attacks, these types of symptoms. There are many therapies, including regular aspirin therapy and then some pharmaceutical therapies. So in this study, pycnogenol was tested with compared to an untreated control group plus or pycnogenol by itself and compared to pharmaceutical treatments. The study went on for a year. The goal was to prevent the recurrence of a retinal vein thrombosis. And the results were quite clear. Pycnogenol treatment was the most effective at preventing the recurrence of retinal vein thrombosis, even when compared to pharmaceutical therapy. So very nice effect at reducing this risk. And in this group too, pycnogenol was most effective at improving vision in this study as well in these patients. There are 2 studies related to this condition. For other eye health areas, of course, free radical stress is a big concern for eye health because our eyes are exposed directly to the sunlight. So we get a lot of free radical stress in our eyes. Very robust antioxidant systems in the eyes, but these decline with age. And so it's important to boost antioxidant function to maximize blood flow to the eye to prevent and decrease the risk of eye conditions. So the most common one related to UV damage would be cataract, but then also the condition of age-related macular degeneration is closely related to UV stress because the light coming in from the eye, from the lens of the eye, is focused here on the macula, which is the most important tissue for vision. How pycnogenol works, mainly here, talking about its antioxidant action, is that it helps to lower this free radical stress and oxidative and inflammatory damage in the eye, while at the same time improving the blood flow in the eye. So there are limited studies of cataract, unfortunately not yet in humans, but in animal studies, there are studies that show it can be very good at helping to at least delay or slow down the progression of cataract. So this was a mouse study using a diabetic model, and they were looking at the activity of the glutathione enzymes in the retinal tissue here. And it was compared to a diet therapy, which was basically a low carbohydrate diet alone, or the low carbohydrate diet with pycnogenol. And you could see that adding pycnogenol was far more effective at improving the activity of these enzymes in the retinal tissue. And in the study, there were no animals in the pycnogenol group that developed cataract. Another study related to this, also in rats, in this case, used a diabetic rat model, and it showed that adding pycnogenol here was more protective and slowed down the progression of the cataracts in these models. So at least a protective effect can be expected with pycnogenol in the case of cataract. So joint health benefits. What's important with osteoarthritis is this is one of those chronic inflammatory conditions that can go on at a low level before you see damage. And this is the problem, is that it is chronic and this damage builds up over time. And treatments like glucosamine or chondroitin are good for rebuilding, but if your joint is on fire, it's essentially like having a house on fire and throwing wood on the fire. It doesn't do anything or doesn't do much to decrease the inflammation. But in the case of pycnogenol, because of its anti-inflammatory effect, pycnogenol can help to decrease this inflammation significantly. And then the other benefit of pycnogenol boosting new collagen production and better hyaluronic acid production, you can help to rebuild more efficiently some of the building blocks that are needed to rebuild the cartilage. So this is a summary slide of some of the results seen from the multiple clinical studies here in osteoarthritis. On average, 3 months of intake, you see very significant decrease in CRP levels and levels of free radical stress, MMP enzymes, COX activity. And symptom-wise, about a 50% reduction in pain over 3 months. And then joint function and stiffness also are improving about the same here. So it's quite nice for osteoarthritis. And the research of pycnogenol in osteoarthritis was recently included in, again, another third-party review, this one published in Rheumatology, from Oxford Press, so a very prestigious journal. And what supplements can I recommend to my osteoarthritis patients? So all of these essentially health food ingredients have been studied in osteoarthritis and have some amount of clinical data. And they evaluated the data for its quality, and of the results were for pain management. Pycnogenol was rated the best, the highest, with the most effective, proving to be the most effective according to the published research, for both pain management and for disability management. Again, in this very prestigious journal in a third-party review. So it's quite good. It's this anti-inflammatory action that's most effective in osteoarthritis. There are other studies related to joint pain. For example, low back pain. This was published 2 years ago, I believe. And this involved a higher dose of pycnogenol, but it was a shorter term study too. It was only 3 weeks. So the higher dose was needed to see a strong effect in a short amount of time. They allowed the subjects to take pain medication, what they call rescue medication, as needed. And in the control group, 73% of the subjects were using pain medication. 73%. So it's essentially a study between pycnogenol and pain medication for efficacy. Only 9% of the subjects taking pycnogenol had to rely on some pain medication. But nonetheless, if you're looking at physical performance based on the Karnofsky scale, you can see that even though these control group subjects, 73% of them are taking the pain medication, the people taking pycnogenol, they had more significant improvement in their performance indicators with pycnogenol, again in 3 weeks. And the back pain score, of course, this is a comparison to pain relievers essentially. The people taking pycnogenol had a better reduction in their pain scores. And the people were able to return basically to their normal physical activity much faster than the subjects in the control group. So 3 weeks versus on average 4.5 weeks for the people in the control group. So very nice for low back pain as well. There is a more recent study in hand arthritis as well, which showed similar results to the ones I just shared with you. So moving on to cognitive health benefits here. Now, again, we're basically talking about the same mechanisms of action in work here. Reducing free radical stress in the brain, reducing inflammation in the brain, maximizing blood flow to the brain, better oxygen delivery, better waste removal. So you can see a significant improvement in cognitive function. And this has been seen in many studies with children as young as 6 years old, up to elderly individuals, 85 years old, including subjects with mild cognitive impairment as well as Parkinson's disease. And you could see across the board, whether it's healthy individuals or not, significant improvement in cognitive function and memory when taking pycnogenol. So this is one study in elderly individuals. They took 100 milligrams a day over the course of a year. And it was just compared to essentially untreated control group. They'd given diet and lifestyle recommendations, the same as in the pycnogenol group. But it was very clear that adding pycnogenol to their daily lives significantly improved their ability to, interact with life, being able to respond to physical stimuli, moving around, coping with problems, simple decision-making skills significantly improved. Their sleep improved nearly 70%. This is huge, particularly in the elderly because sleep quality tends to decline with age. So exercise ability, even things as their ability to taste and hear and see. The minimal cognitive impairment study was quite interesting. It used a higher dose of 150 milligrams of pycnogenol, but it was only an 8-week study. And it was compared to a control group, which was standard management. So there's no real proven pharmaceutical treatment for MCI at this point. Diet and lifestyle management is the main at this point. And so adding to that diet and lifestyle management, they added pycnogenol. So MCI is the first diagnosable stage of dementia. And again, it's the idea of slowing down this curve or this slope in cognitive function decline. So MCI is that first stage where you can actually diagnose something is changing. And they use a simple questionnaire, the mini mental state examination. So very simple questions, counting backwards or, spelling words, memorizing certain lists of words, these types of things. So not difficult. So the results here were quite interesting. So at the baseline, both groups were about the same in their cognitive function here. So this is clearly mild impairment, so MCI. And then after taking pycnogenol for only 8 weeks, they saw a significant improvement of 18%. Their score was over 25, which puts them back to the range of no impairment in 8 weeks. So very, very impressive findings with this initial study. And they used something called the 16 IQ code survey. So this is a survey where you ask, it's not the patient themselves, but it's the people in their lives. It's their spouse or people who interact with them daily. And these people reported that taking pycnogenol, their memory function improved across the broad range of areas with conversations, being able to remember people's faces. And then other things like the day of the week, remembering where things are around the house, using simple household equipment like the space shuttle here. Not quite your simple household equipment, but you know what I mean. And then other things like the willingness or the ability to learn new gadgets, learn how to use new things, learn new things, follow stories, make simple decisions. These abilities improved significantly with 8 weeks of pycnogenol supplementation. Handling their money, a true important point for independence as you age, being able to do this and make this smart decisions, understanding situations and making good decisions, all of these skills improved with pycnogenol in MCI patients. And then lastly, this was directly to the subjects themselves, but they overall, had significant improvement in dealing with people, better decision making. They were more active. They felt better moving around. Their exercise tolerance improved significantly, and their sleep quality improved significantly. So very, very nice findings in MCI patients. And then this study is just up. It's another third-party independent review, meta-analysis. It's in pre-publication, so I don't have the details. But if you just look at the abstract here, they say in their conclusion that pycnogenol showed the highest probability of improving cognitive function and daily living scores of the other treatments that were compared with. So very, very nice meta-analysis to see, and we look forward to seeing the details in the near future. So skin health benefits. Oh, wow, I'm pretty good on time. Skin health, so there are a lot of studies related to skin health, about 40 publications related to this out of the 500 plus you'll see on Medline. But pycnogenol has been shown to increase hyaluronic acid and therefore improve hydration. Significant effect on improving skin elasticity, binding to and protecting the existing collagen while helping to generate more. Protecting the skin from breakdown from MMPs. And then better collagen generation here, and as I said, hyaluronic acid production. So this is just a sample of some of the studies here. More recent study published a couple years ago. This was conducted in China in outdoor workers. It was a double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover study. They used 100 milligrams per day, and they saw a significant improvement in elasticity parameters, so elasticity and skin tone improved. And they saw a significant improvement in moisture content in the skin. This was accompanied with a significant improvement in skin barrier function. And then looking at the whitening effect, this has been proven. The mechanisms of action show that pycnogenol downregulates the tyrosinase enzyme and has a direct inhibitory effect on the tyrosinase enzyme as well. So this has been proven in many studies, but this study again, significant improvement in the whitening of the skin here in the hot summer weeks in this study as well. Placebo was getting darker, pycnogenol treatment group was getting lighter. And this is a study out of Brazil from a university there. It was an open study, but they saw that there was a very, very high response rate in the group that was taking pycnogenol here. And then more recently, studies showing the extension of the skin is our hair, that pycnogenol can be effective in helping to improve hair growth. In this case, this is in menopausal women. And there was a double-blind placebo-controlled study for 6 months. And you could see that taking pycnogenol as quickly as 2 months, you saw a significant increase in hair density. And this was maintained through 6 months of the study. Same study saw significant improvement in skin barrier function of the skin of the scalp, so better moisture content in the scalp, along with better blood flow in the scalp. 2 months already, nice improvement. At 6 months, it was clearly much better than placebo. So healthier scalp, healthier hair growth, and menopausal women. And then the most recent one, published in June of this year, was on cellulite. Again, a double-blind placebo-controlled study using a relatively higher dose here, and it was compared to placebo. They used the Hexel Cellulite Severity Scale. So this is the same measurement used to measure pharmaceutical treatments or medical devices. And the subjects in the study were essentially around grade 1 cellulite level, but they saw a significant reduction only in the pycnogenol group, improvement by around 14%, which is pretty comparable to many pharmaceutical treatments. So photographic evidence is nice. Don't know how well you can see this, but there was a significant, these are also in the study, a significant improvement in the appearance of the skin on the back of the legs in the pycnogenol group. And a bonus was that the thighs became slimmer, on average of about 2 centimeters decrease in circumference in the treatment group taking pycnogenol. And the skin roughness was significantly improved, so the skin had a much smoother appearance. So very interesting findings related to cellulite in a double-blind placebo-controlled study. So just to summarize, it's the many actions of pycnogenol working in harmony together. It's the complete extract that's working in harmony as well to provide a powerful antioxidant effect, anti-inflammatory effect, supporting full body circulation, and supporting the health of the skin and the connective tissue. So that's why you see efficacy in so many different areas, including aging itself. So improvement in cardiovascular health, eye health, joint health, cognitive function, and skin and hair. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to ask about the pharmacokinetics.
Okay.
Most of your studies, or the studies are done with the pycnogenol, they use 120 milligrams, 150, I don't know, maybe up to 180 in certain studies.
Certain studies, yeah.
To see the effect in 8 to 12 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
But as supplement, pycnogenol is sold only in Thailand at least 40 milligrams. Maybe so before you feel amazed about the effect of pycnogenol, I mean, you have to take at least 3 to 4 tablets a day. Then I don't know if you take only 1 tablet a day for instead of 12 weeks, let's say the entire year, 1 tablet or 2 tablets for a long term, I guess it might produce similar effect to the high dose short terms, but I don't know, depends on the pharmacokinetics. So is your suggestion, you suggest that because it's quite expensive, you take 4 tablets 8 weeks and then stop for 2 months and then take it again, or just take 1 tablet, 2 tablets a day for life?
Very, very astute observation. Yes, the limit on the procyanidin intake in Thailand is 60 milligrams per day. And so you just simply cannot sell a high-dose pycnogenol supplement in this country, unfortunately. But to answer your question, the 40 milligram per day dose has been shown effective, particularly in combinations, where it's combined with other targeted ingredients. Say, for example, the Pharma product, the Avel product, is a skin health formulation with other targeted ingredients to promote skin health, improve elasticity, and these factors. And that formulation itself has a study. Pycnogenol dose in that study is 40 milligrams. And you can see significant improvement in elasticity as well as significant decrease in the appearance of fine wrinkles in that study. So yes, there are studies in Japan. Actually, it was conducted in pregnant women where they were trying to relieve symptoms of joint pain and muscular pain and cramping related to pregnancy. It was given to these women in the final trimester of pregnancy, and it was compared to standard treatment, pharmaceutical treatment. And it was shown to be as effective or more effective than the pharmaceutical treatment used. And it was shown to have no side effects, and it significantly improved the joint pain, the muscle pain, and decreased the cramping in this 30 milligrams. And there was no side effects reported in the mothers or the children. So there's that. Again, the antioxidant studies, the one that I showed was 50 milligrams, and you could see a very strong antioxidant effect even with a lower dose like that. The majority of the studies on average, yes, the doses would probably average out to be 100 milligrams per day is the most commonly used. But you also have to take into account the average body weight of the population where you're doing the study. A lot of the studies where these were done were conducted in Europe, where there's a significantly higher average body weight than the average Thai person. So the recommended dose of pycnogenol for the effects that I've described is 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight per day. So if you're talking about Thai women, most women would fall into that under the 60 milligram per day dose. So yes, to get clinical efficacy, particularly compared to placebo in a short period of time, a high dose is often used. Is it needed as a lifestyle an adjuvant to your daily life and slow down the aging process? Such a high dose is not necessarily needed.
Good answer.
Thank you.
And then in terms of pycnogenols and glutathione.
Yes.
Okay. Pharma will hate me for this. You know, by increasing nitric oxide, okay, enos, actually nitric oxide is reactive oxygen species.
True.
So actually, by the way, pycnogenol increase oxidative stress locally in the blood vessel because nitric oxide is reactive oxygen species. But also itself, procyanin itself is the antioxidant in reducing substance. Okay. So for the glutathione itself, I don't know, you think the glutathione reduce glutathione level that is higher? Because at first, the pycnogenol itself help free glutathione from binding to other reactive oxygen species, or because pycnogenol effectively increase nitric oxide and then the body have to adapt by trying to making more glutathione. Or could be the third, pycnogenol has some direct effect in terms of transcriptionals of glutathione that it enhance the at mRNA level to enhance the glutathione.
Yeah, a very good question. Yes, it has been shown to significantly boost nitric oxide production in the endothelial cells, enos enzyme. But it has an opposite effect in, say, immune cells, where it can decrease the upregulation of nitric oxide in an immune response. So that's why it has this immune modulator effect here. So yeah, as a free radical in the bloodstream, you would have some increase with the increase in nitric oxide production. In a sense, you're getting a bit of a hormetic effect there, because you're increasing slightly free radical stress there, so the body has to respond, so you get an upregulation of the antioxidant defenses. The other way that, in addition, well, then you have pink nodules antioxidant action directly there to help modify that. The other part too is the genetic transcription level. And studies have shown that the pink nodule can upregulate the NRF2 pathway, which boosts the antioxidant enzyme production in the body as well. And related to glutathione, we saw the studies that showed increase in the enzymes that are responsible for recycling glutathione. So yeah, pink nodule is there to spare glutathione, but also to help upregulate its recycling. So you see overall more glutathione there. I'm not sure, did I get your answer to your question properly?
In glutathione reductase, how to search for it? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your questions.
Due to time constraint, we'll be taking one more question.
So much for the presentation. So, what is the critical dose or maximum dose that you can go up to for, the safe level? And what's the difference between DAFLON 500 and both improve microcirculation or CVI?
Right.
So I think these are my two questions.
Sure. Maximum dose used in a clinical study was in coronary artery disease, and they used 450 milligrams per day over the course of 8 weeks. And there was no significant increase in side effects with this dose. So yeah, safety studies, there's a safety study consuming, I think it was 5 grams in one sitting, and there was no, I mean, there was some gastric distress from that dose, but otherwise there was no serious side effect with that. Long-term studies using 200 milligrams per day for 6 years didn't show any significant increase in side effects. DAFLON, yeah, this is a different flavonoid combination. So the flavonoids, the polyphenols in there are different species. These are from citrus flavonoids. And so they work a little bit differently than the procyanidins and the compounds in pycnogenol. So that's why you see a bit of difference in the efficacy here.
So the organizer allowed one more question. So let's have one more question. Last one.
I think the main mechanism of actions of many things, many supplements that is good for health is antioxidant and anti-inflammation, which you mentioned at first about the epithelial health. So as for the organ system that get benefit is from endothelial health that is healthier. Now, my question is about the supplement ingredient that has so many kinds, such as astaxanthin, resveratrol, and biloba, and many things. Any information about potency compared to each ingredient? Which one has a higher potency on endothelium? And also for the clinical indications, such as cholesterol, lower medicine. The first session about CoQ10, we talk about this. Pinozinol also have Pharma that has specific and main function on lower cholesterol is cholesterol, which has monocholine like effect, right? And also about the diabetes. There may be so many kinds of supplements that work on some organ. But now, if we talk about endothelial function, that is better. So it's like getting better for whole body.
True.
Okay, so my question is, which one has more potency in any specific organ? That may be the primary indication for that supplement. Otherwise, we have to take so many kinds of antioxidants.
Right. Yeah, very excellent question, and not easy to answer because the research just isn't there. The direct comparative studies are not there. So essentially, you'd have to look at the research with these individual ingredients and compare them. And it'd be like a cost-benefit analysis based on the different ingredients and their costs and these types of things. Yes, and I don't have that information in my head, unfortunately. There's just too many, as you say, there are many ingredients that have shown that efficacy, The important thing with pycnogenol is this has been shown not in one study, not in two studies, but this is multiple studies where this benefit has been proven again and again with different evaluation methods in different populations. And the safety in combination with medications, that's been proven too. So you can feel assured that it is effective and that it is quite safe even in combination with medications. So I think that's the area that pycnogenol stands out if you're making such a comparison. So you can feel assured in the efficacy and the safety of it.
Right, that'll be all the questions for now. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeffrey Strong, for that presentation and answering really difficult questions, by the way.
Cup and cup.
Our next speaker and last speaker is someone who has helped influence wellness, anti-aging, and longevity medicine in Thailand, Dr. Narintoran Surasintan. He is the CEO and founder of The Longevist, a center dedicated to personalized longevity and preventive healthcare. His career spans major leadership roles across some of the most respected medical and wellness institutions in the country. I had the privilege of working with him from 2018 to 2022 during his time as the Chief Operating Officer of Vital Life at Bumrungrad Hospital. His leadership, his grit, and his remarkable diligence played a major role in guiding the direction of integrative and anti-aging medicine in Thailand. And I can personally attest, when Dr. Narintoran sets a vision, he makes it happen. In fact, a recent conversation with him was what sparked my journey toward creating a non-medical wellness playground, an idea I'm now bringing to life. Before this time, at Bumrungrad, from 2015 to 2018, he served as a medical director at Thanyapura Health and Sports Resort in Phuket, and prior to that, he spent more than 10 years as the assistant hospital director at Samittiwet Sukhumvit Hospital. He earned his medical degree from Faculty of Medicine, Sirat Hospital, Mahidol University, followed by an MBA from Chulalongkorn University. He also holds prestigious international credentials, including certification from the American Board of Anti-Aging and Regenerative Medicine, and a fellowship in anti-aging and metabolic medicine. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a warm welcome to the stage, Dr. Narintoran Surasintan.
Thank you. So today I will talk about nutraceutical for longevity. But when we talk about longevity, I have to go back why nutraceutical matter now. Now there is an aging population and rising of burden of chronic disease, and medicine or pharmaceutical alone are not enough. So we have to go back to lifestyle medicine, adjust eating habits, exercise, stress management. And now the trend of people is changed. Everyone talks about longevity. Now there is the influencer like Brian Johnson. In Thailand, there is a big cap owner, the cryptocurrency company, who try to promote himself about longevity, but sometimes it's deviate from evidence-based. Anyway, nutraceutical should be a part of lifestyle modifications, lifestyle medicine and longevity medicine. I love the concept in this book, Outlive. It's published 2 years ago by Peter Attia, that talks about art and science of longevity. He mentions about the 4 horsemen that have some burden for elderly, metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and Alzheimer. Now in my center is focused more in Alzheimer because Alzheimer now is number 7 of mortality rate globally. And if we talk about all disease or all conditions, we have to change our mindset to be medicine 3.0. We have to be increase health span and try to have people have optimal longevity. And to have optimal longevity, in the last 10 years, there is more and more neuroscience, AI, longevity medicine that try to change and focus in hallmarks of aging. And we will see more and more research that there is some intervention, there is some supplements that focus to hallmarks of aging and try to increase biological age. And if we talk about quality of life, I like to mention about top 4 of quality of life: locomotor, cognitive function, sensory and psychological. At the end, if we have healthy body, healthy physical, but we have to have healthy mind too. But before go up to that function, is start from genetic. And after genetic, there is hallmarks of it aging in the cellular level that make change in the function in the level and then go to have some impair or aging of each organ. In my practice, I use this model and I share this model to all of my patients to let them see that what is the problem of their health. Like someone who come with low energy, fatigue, or menopause. Now the problem is come from, we have to go back to see their lifestyle and we have to check their hormone. Someone come with the problem with bloating, gas, indigestion, gut. It may come from guts, but hormone and guts is also start from stress. So every patient that I take care, I have to back to interview their daily life, and most of my patients they don't breathe properly. We forget to focus to our breath, and this is one of the key that I take care of my patients. The one who have disease or condition like cancer. Now, when we have the patients of cancer, we have to go down to improve their immune function, improve their mitochondria function, and do detoxifications. The one who have Alzheimer, have to remove all the toxin, cadmium, mercury rate out of the body. Have to adjust their hormone, improve their gut functions and energy functions. So in this model, we can take care of healthy people to let them healthier. And we can take care of chronic disease patients to improve their condition by change their lifestyle, detox their toxin, and improve their function in the body. To improve function in the body, I love the concept of hallmarks of aging that started in 2013 with 9 hallmarks of aging. So today we will go through all hallmarks of aging, and I will mention that in each hallmark, what is the nutraceutical that can help each hallmarks. The criteria to be hallmarks of aging is the first one is manifest during normal aging. And if we activate this mechanism, it will accelerate aging. And if we can stop it or reverse it, we can reverse aging. This is a concept to be hallmarks of aging. So now they mentioned that now there is 12 hallmarks of aging, but in the future, there will have more and more hallmarks of aging, like HPA axis, circadian dysfunction will be the next hallmarks of aging. And from 2023, there is another 3 hallmarks of aging, dysbiosis, chronic inflammations, and autophagy. So we will start with each hallmarks and we go through it together. We start with the genomic instability. The key concept of this one is only we have to prevent our DNA not to be damaged by the pollutions. And second, we have to promote our DNA repair mechanism in the body. Now in Bangkok, they start to have PM 2.5 again every year. And the government do the same thing. They try to promote that. They will plant the tree, or they will, last few years, they try to spring the water from the top of the building. That cannot help. So we have to focus to all the problem in our country. Now we have to start to help ourselves by renovate our house to be positive pressure in our house during PM 2.5. We have to aware of ultra-processed food, UV radiations. I check my patients' heavy metal by do the chelations and collect the urine sampling. Everyone have heavy metal. And in Thailand, most common is lead, aluminum, manganese, and cadmium. And so all of this, there is the reason why north of Thailand, we have more and more cases of lung cancer and maybe prostate cancer too from cadmium. And there is the mining in Myanmar, but the waste product is go to Kok River in the north of Thailand. So there is double from air pollution and from water pollution. So in this part, we have to protect ourselves. But in the DNA level, there is a process that called DNA repair. And there is many supplement, many nutraceutical that can help for DNA repair. Vitamin C plus vitamin E, vitamin D, selenium, EGCG from green tea extract, coenzyme Q10, B6, folate, B12, magnesium, omega-3, zinc. In each hallmarks of aging, we can see the list of these nutraceutical. And when we go through 12 hallmarks of aging, we can see that some supplements it's attack more than 5 or 6 hallmarks of aging, and that should be the nutraceutical or supplement that we should take every day. This is an example of the paper talks about supplement or phytochemical that have effect of DNA damage, against DNA damage in our body. It is folate, B12 and zinc that can help for the DNA repair, prevention of oxidative stress and inflammation by ACE, lycopene. But I love curcumin. This is one of the supplements that have attack in many hallmarks of aging. Folate, B12 and choline. This is another group of supplements that have paper support that it can help for the DNA repair, prevent telomere shortening. And this is a paper in 2020, nutrition that can help DNA repair in case of aging. Selenium, come again, vitamin E, vitamin C, zinc. This group of antioxidants is good for DNA repair. This is the first hallmark of aging. Then we go to second hallmarks, telomere shortening, telomere attrition. Telomere shortening is come from external cause and internal cause. External cause is the same as DNA damage, but internal cause is come from oxidative stress, chronic inflammations, telomerase deficiency. So strategy to support these hallmarks of aging. First, we have to slow down telomere shortening. The second, telomere maintenance, and the third is increase telomerase enzymes. But we don't want to increase telomerase enzyme too much because in cancer cell also have high activity of telomerase too. So with these three strategy, the first one, we use the omega-3, vitamin D, coenzyme Q10 together with selenium. It can help for prevent or delay telomere shortening. Vitamin C and vitamin E, folate, B12, and NMN. To maintain, have telomere maintenance, we have zinc, magnesium, curcumin, and N-acetylcysteine. And for telomerase activator, we can use resveratrol, astragalus. There is some in the US TA65. It's come from astragalus to increase the telomere length, and melatonin. Now this is the supplement for the telomere. And this is one paper of selenium and coenzyme Q10 in the group of 77 years old in about 100 cases, and take selenium and Q10 for 42 months and see the rate of telomere shortening and the risk of cardiovascular mortality. Another paper is show that antioxidants, CE polyphenol like resveratrol, omega-3, and spermidine can help to protect our telomere. NMN, there is a study in mice and small group in human. It can also help for the telomere length. So this is example of the supplement for telomere. Astragalus, it can also increase the telomere length too. We already go to 2 hallmarks of aging. The third hallmark of aging is epigenetic, switch to turn on and turn off our genetic. There is 3 mechanisms of epigenetic: DNA methylations, histone modification, and mRNA degradation. Strategy to support or epigenetic modulation is first to reduce aberrance of methylations, increase histone acetylations, and try to stimulate sirtuins and decrease inflammation. And this is a list of supplements for epigenetic. NMN, the supplement that David Sinclair tried to promote, that it can help to extend lifespan in mice about 14%. AKG, resveratrol, curcumin, and curcumin is come in every hallmarks. Folate, B12, B6 in every hallmarks. Omega-3 is almost in every hallmarks, and coenzyme Q10 almost in every hallmarks. There is one paper talks about epigenetic mechanism of longevity interventions. The lifestyle change by caloric restriction, supplement by folic acid, B12, probiotic that promote short chain fatty acid. Statin may have effect of with epigenetic, resveratrol, curcumin, metformin, and rapamycin. NMN, this is another supplement that I also take every day that can increase NAD plus and stimulate sirtuin-1 and FOXO gene to have better mitochondria biogenesis and autophagy. The fourth hallmark of aging is loss of proteostasis. There is misfold protein, the protein that built in the wrong shape, and it can accumulate in our body. The most common that we know is in our brain. We can check tau 217, we can check amyloid beta, we can check GFAP and NFL to know the risk of Alzheimer in advance. Before that, we can check ApoE gene to see the risk of the patients. And the way to remove all of the toxic protein, the best way is to improve the autophagy. Now, if we can improve autophagy, it can help. But the lifestyle modification, one of the most important is enough sleep, especially deep sleep, because during deep sleep, our lymphatic system is clear out all the toxic protein out of the body. Amyloid fibril in the heart, this is another result from loss of proteostasis. So the strategy to have a better proteostasis is reduce misfold protein, increase autophagy, stimulate heat shock protein. This is another reason that I love to go to sauna or onsen. Now, if we can increase our core temperature about 1 degree Celsius, it can stimulate heat shock protein in our body and try to reduce stress. This is the list of supplements that can increase proteostasis. Spermidine that can increase autophagy, resveratrol, NAD plus booster. Again, omega-3 and curcumin, EGCG, magnesium, vitamin D, L-theanine, quercetin. Now, this is the supplement that can support proteostasis and autophagy. The first 4 hallmarks of aging is the hallmarks that have damage to our cellular level. And another next 3 hallmarks is respond to that damage. Now, it starts with the regulated nutrient sensing, that if we eat too much nutrient excess, it stimulates insulin and IGF-1 signaling, stimulate mTOR pathway. And when we do the caloric restriction, it stimulates AMPK, NAD+, sirtuin-1, and this link to longevity and lower cancer risk. So the strategy for nutrient sensing, we have to balance between mTOR pathway and AMPK, and try to increase insulin sensitivity and reduce hypersignaling. Actually, the best way for this is to have caloric restriction and intermittent fasting with optimal protein and optimal nutrient. And the supplement that can support for the nutrient sensing, the new one is berberine that have acting the same as metformin, resveratrol. I used to take metformin, but I stopped that about 5 years ago. There is some paper show that metformin can blunt the effect of exercise. So when we exercise and we take metformin, the effect of our exercise go down. Another effect from metformin is can reduce testosterone level. So I keep metformin for only the one have pre-diabetic and diabetic. Resveratrol And NMN, this can help to increase the AMPK and autophagy, alpha lipoic acid, omega-3 and curcumin. Curcumin, omega-3 is come in every hallmarks of aging. Chromium help to better sugar metabolism, reduce insulin sensitivity. Magnesium, ECG, coenzyme Q10, inositol, sulforaphane, and glycine and NAC. Now I also take glycine and NAC almost every day too. The amino acid that I take is taurine, glycine, and NAC, creatine, and this amino acid have some paper in mice that can extend lifespan. I show you later. This is a mTOR pathway. There is the resveratrol, metformin, and rapamycin that can block mTOR pathway. I used to take rapamycin too for a few years, but I already stopped rapamycin because it's too expensive. And there is some side effect that like it can reduce our immunity and it can have some mouth sore, mouth ulcer. So I stopped rapamycin. And Brian Johnson, he also stopped rapamycin this year. And he mentioned that it doesn't help to reduce his biological age. So now I take resveratrol, I take NMN, and it can help for autophagy, lysosomal biogenesis, mitochondria biogenesis, and increased lifespan. Next, hallmarks of aging, mitochondria, these functions. This is the hallmarks that I quite focus when I take care of my patients. Sometimes I check urine organic acid to check that the Krebs cycle in the patients is good or not. Because mitochondria, only one hallmarks of aging can disturb all other hallmarks of aging. And if we can fix mitochondria, it can help to improve health span and lifespan. And in elderly that come to see me with the chronic fatigue, we correct their hormone level, but we also need to improve their mitochondria function too. So the strategy for mitochondria function, first we have to increase energy production, reduce reactive oxygen species, protect mitochondria DNA, increase mitochondria biogenesis, and increase metabolic flexibility. Number one for this, I like coenzyme Q10, acetyl L-carnitine, NAD+, alpha lipoic acid, creatine. The new one is PQQ, not mentioned in other hallmarks of aging, and some amino acid like L-arginine and citrulline, and taurine. Other is already mentioned in other hallmarks of aging. For the ubiquinol or Q10, it go down when we get older. When we boost the Q10 level, it can help for better energy production in mitochondria level. And Q10 can reduce inflammation, reduce fibrosis, cardiovascular disease, sarcopenia, and neurodegenerative disease. I see a lot of elderly who have sarcopenia. Is quite common and is a big problem in Thailand. The three method strategy for sarcopenia is first is high protein intake. Second is the strength training or weight training. And the third is to add some new supplement that can support muscle like creatine, Q10, and other supplement that can support mitochondria function. NAD plus is go down when we get older together with mitochondria functions. So when we increase the NAD plus level by NMN or NR, it can also see the significant results of energy productions. And the patients, most of my patients when take NMN about 500 to 1000 milligram per day for about 1 or 2 weeks, significant improve in their quality of life and in their energy. PQQ have the effect of antioxidants and in the cellular pathway is increased PPAR to increase the metabolism and reduce inflammation by reduce NF-kappa B. This is the electron transport chains in the mitochondria. we see that they need many kinds of nutrients and supplements like vitamin B1, B2, B5, B6, coenzyme Q10, selenium, creatine, carnitine, taurine, melatonin. So all of these nutrients, if we have give this and have optimized level of this nutrient, it can help the patient to have better energy. And once we reset their energy, then they can go back to their daily life, go back to their exercise. So all of these nutrients in this phase is quite important. The next is senescent cells. Senescent cell is the result from all other hallmarks of aging that we mentioned before. When there is DNA damage, telomere shortening, epigenetic, or mitochondrial dysfunction, its body will turn the cell to be senescent cell. Actually, the objective to have senescent cell is the way to stop the cell to divide itself, to protect the cell that is too old or they have some DNA mutations. And this is a way that our body try to protect or prevent cancer. But when body have too much senescent cell, it can create inflammation by release SASP. And SASP can create chronic inflammation in the body. But this one can also increase risk of Alzheimer, of the cancer too. SASP, so the strategy to take care of the senescent cells, we have to take care of two parts. The first part is senolytic, to clear out senescent cells. And second part is xenomorphic, to clear out the inflammation that come from senescent cell, SASP. So senolytic, in the past they use D plus Q, dasatinib and quercetin, but dasatinib is cancer therapy. But we don't use dasatinib. What I use is fisetin, quercetin, resveratrol, curcumin, sulforaphane, and ECG that can help for the senolytic. And for xenomorphic, curcumin come back again. Omega-3, vitamin D, melatonin, alpha-lipoic acid, astaxanthin. So with this two strategy, clear out the cell and give antioxidant to clear out inflammation, we can support this senescent cell hallmarks of aging. And this is another paper. It showed that to clear out senescent cells, they use DNQ and other tocotrienol and senolytic. They have this. And this can help to reduce the risk of immune system disease, cardiovascular disease, osteoarthritis, neurological disease, and cancer. This is in vitro. We can see that fisetin and curcumin can reduce senescent cell in vitro. Stem cell exhaustions. Stem cell exhaustions and intercellular communication is the response of our cell is of phenotype that come from previous hallmarks of aging. Our body still have stem cell even we get older. There is adult stem cell. So we have to try to have stem cell activator, try to make stem cells stronger, and try to regenerate stem cell through stem cell niche, try to create environment for stem cell by reducing inflammation and reduce senescent cell. And if we can support mitochondria, it can also help for the stem cell exhaustion too. This is the list of supplements that may relate to stem cell. Spermidine, NMN, resveratrol, vitamin D, omega-3, Q10, taurine, collagen, and vitamin C for skin and guts. Magnesium, zinc, melatonin, and acetyl-L-carnitine. But I think in the future, we wait for the iPSC from Professor Shinya Yamanaka. This is maybe the future that we can see hope for many people that have some disease. Like few months ago, there is a paper that the one who have traumatic spine injury and use stem cell in Japan. After a few months, the condition is better and patient can come back to have their daily life. Outer intercellular combinations, cellular communications, the cell have to communicate to each other, communicate to itself, or autocline, to the cell beside them, paracrine or the endocrine. So we have to reduce inflammatory signaling, balance immune signaling, increase neuronal signaling or neurotransmitter, and optimize hormone, and have to reduce SASP from senescent cells. And this is a supplement that may support intercellular communications. All is almost the same group, but we add hormone replacement therapy. Now, hormone replacement therapy is quite important for the intercellular communication and longevity, especially estrogen. Now, everyone who don't have contraindication to take estrogen after menopause, I highly recommend that they should use estrogen and together with progesterone. Autophagy by Yoshinori Osumi. He have a Nobel Prize from autophagy. So we all know that autophagy is linked to the AMPK, mTOR inhibitions, mitophagy, and lysosomal enhancement. It's linked to other hallmarks of aging that called nutrient sensing. So if we like to have higher autophagy, we can have some supplement like spermidine, resveratrol, berberine, curcumin, EGCG. Actually, the list is maybe duplicate with other hallmarks of aging. And this is resveratrol that can increase mitochondrial function, increase insulin sensitivity, fatty acid oxidations, and can reduce obesity and insulin resistance. Gut microbiome. We have only 3 hallmarks left, 2 hallmarks left. Gut microbiome. When I see the patients, the one who have gut problem will come to see me with some gut problem, gas, bloating, indigestion, GERD, or sometimes they come with other conditions like low immune functions, chronic urticaria, chronic allergy, chronic headache, and some other autoimmune disease. So the strategy is to first to remove food sensitivity, replace enzymes, re-inoculate probiotic, and repair the gut by glutamine, zinc, omega-3, and turmeric. And again, back to lifestyle modification. So strategy for gut microbiome. First, we have to balance their prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic. May add some short-chain fatty acid, and have to go back to their lifestyle, how to protect their gut barrier. And the last one is anti-inflammatory, is chronic inflammation. So the supplement for gut microbiome is the group that can prebiotic, probiotic, postbiotic, and short-chain fatty acid. And the second group is a group to repair the gut, glutamine, zinc, vitamin D, collagen peptide, curcumin, omega-3. And the last one is a group that can clear out inflammations, polyphenol, quercetin, and digestive enzymes. This is for the gut microbiome. The last hallmarks of aging is chronic inflammations. It's like mitochondria. When there is mitochondria dysfunction is disturbed all other hallmarks of aging. Chronic inflammation is the same. If we have chronic inflammation, it disturbs other hallmarks of aging. So the key for chronic inflammation is anti-inflammatory, NF-kappa B inhibitors, antioxidants, and immune modulators. And this is the list of supplements that may relate to chronic inflammation: omega-3, curcumin, quercetin, resveratrol, vitamin D, sulforaphane. During COVID, during PM 2.5, we have to add sulforaphane because it's the supplement that can detox toxin from PM 2.5. So this is 12 hallmarks of aging. That is the core of the aging. And if we can protect these 12 hallmarks of aging, we can have other longevity. And we can see the link of hallmarks of aging, that each hallmarks may link to many kinds of disease. Like mitochondria dysfunction is go to almost all disease in our body or degenerative disease. If we focus to one supplement, that can attack many hallmarks of aging. Vitamin D is one of the supplement that we should have the check and replace our level to be about 40 to 60 of vitamin D in the blood. Now, coenzyme Q10 is another supplement that I highly recommend. Almost every patient that I give coenzyme Q10 100 to 200 milligram per day to prevent cardiovascular disease, DM, inflammation, aging, senescent cell, sarcopenia. Omega-3, about maybe 60 to 70% of Thai people have not enough intake of fish, avocado, nuts, and they have low level of omega-3. So they should have EPA and DHA with high dose, about 750 to 1000 milligram of EPA and DHA. And this can see that it can reduce our cause of mortality. Other supplement that can attack many hallmarks of aging like NMN, resveratrol, and spermidine. This is optional that you can choose for your longevity. And I try to do summary for to see the supplement that may increase lifespan: omega-3, vitamin D, Q10, resveratrol, curcumin, EGCG, melatonin, berberine. Supplement that may reduce biological age: NMN, AKG, spermidine, vitamin D, resveratrol, coenzyme Q10, and vitamin D. Supplement with lifespan extension evidence in animal models. So this list, rapamycin, I stopped this. Metformin, I already stopped this. NMN, spermidine, fisetin, quercetin for senolytic. Lithium, never tried this before. AKG, taurine, glycine, urolithin A is another one that have paper support increased lifespan in mice. Glycine. So I take every day. I take NMN. I take omega-3. I take vitamin D. I take quercetin, Glynac, taurine, glycine, and melatonin. I take it almost every day. And if summarize from hallmarks of aging to be each hallmarks, this is the list of supplements that may relate to each hallmarks of aging. But back to basic, with longevity 5 level, we talk a lot about longevity, but that's level 3 is longevity supplements. But fundamental of longevity, more than 50% is come from longevity level 1. So we have to encourage our patients to change their lifestyle, to change their diet, to exercise regularly. And longevity medicine, they always have measure the results. Like exercise, we measure by VO2 max. Stress, we measure by HRV. And muscle mass, we can check by DEXA scan. Sleep, we can use wearable device and see that is 7 hours with deep sleep about 1 to 2 hours, REM sleep about 20%. All can measure. And then lifestyle level 2 is the longevity biomarker. It depends on the budget of the patient that how deep they like to go down. And longevity supplement, we already discussed about longevity and hallmarks of aging. And level 4 is longevity interventions like ice bath, sauna, hyperbaric oxygen chamber. This is longevity level 4. And longevity level 5 is biohacking in research like gene editing, CAR T cell for senescent cells, and stem cell therapy. And so we can encourage our patients to start with longevity level 1, longevity 0 baht. No need to pay anything to be longevity. And exercise. Exercise is the only intervention that can attack all hallmarks of aging. There is no supplement that can attack all hallmarks of aging. So exercise is the key. Exercise is the most important. So set your exercise schedule in your calendar at least 3 or 4 times a week. And then you will be really busy and you have only 2 times left. So try to put it in your calendar more and more. Actually, do I have enough time? Actually, we can go to another aspect is organ aging. We can go to see brain aging, heart aging, ovarian aging, and see that what is a nutraceutical that focus in each organ. But today I may skip this and may have about 10 minutes for questions. For the longevity interventions, I recommend to have caloric restrictions, but need optimal protein and nutrients, or do the intermittent fasting. But if you like to have autophagy, 8 and 16 is not enough. You have to fasting more. Maybe you need 1 meal a day to stimulate autophagy. Exercise, we need about 80% to be zone 2 exercise and 20% to be high intensity interval exercise to improve our VO2 max. We need to do weight training at least once or twice a week to maintain our muscle mass to prevent sarcopenia, and avoid toxin and pollutions, microplastic, pesticides, herbicides in vegetable. Stress management is the most important. If we start with stress management, with mindfulness, with meditations, positive thinking, this is one of the key. When they interview the centenarian, there is the point that they have purpose of life, they have positive thinking, they have really good relationship. This is the key for longevity. Gut microbiome have to balance with try to avoid inflammation from food and get probiotic from kimchi, natto, kefir, or yogurt. Optimize hormone level, optimize micronutrient and antioxidants, and select longevity supplement that match for you. This is the longevity interventions. And with this concept, we try to encourage our patient to understand what is the root cause of their disease, what is the problem with their function, what is the problem with their lifestyle. And every visit, when patient come to see me, I have to ask them about their quality of life. In the hospital, we have pain score. But when come to longevity clinic, we have energy score from 1 to 10. What is the level of your energy? Sleep, your cognitive function, your brain, pain score, stress score, gut score. Now, when we follow up this condition, this quality of life, we can detect the abnormal or inflammations or abnormal function, and then we can go to the concept of function in the body that we have to focus. And with this concept, we plan 1 year plan. Like right now, these 3 months, I try to plan 2026 year plan for my patients. What is their target? Reduce body weight, increase muscle mass, increase VO2 max, reduce sugar, reduce cholesterol. We have to have communication and plan the target together. And with plan, we focus to lifestyle modifications. More than 50% of the result is come from patient lifestyle. But we have to encourage them, not only tell them that you have to exercise 5 times a week. We have to know that if they go out to work at 5 a.m. and go back at home around 8 p.m., how can they exercise? So we have to learn more and try to encourage and ask them, at least they can be weekend warrior, exercise during weekend 150 minutes. And or they can use the YouTube to open some clip and exercise from YouTube. It can save their time. Now this is the way that we can help people, help patients to have longevity. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insight regarding the practice of longevity medicine. Do we have any questions?
Do you have any information about herbal medicines like cordyceps and reishi for longevity?
I try to find some information about herb, about Chinese medicine, but there is only few paper that try to focus from this herb into the result of reduced biological age or extend lifespan. Now, this is my hope that in Thailand we may have some university to do some intervention to improve our Thai herbal to be have more value. But what we see in this slide is curcumin, quercetin. This is the herb and vegetable that we can help to improve their level. But I think there is only one company in Thailand that have nano curcumin ใช่ไหมครับเป็นนาโนเจ้าเดียวนะฮะ so I always use nano curcumin.
Thank you very much for your informative lecture. May I ask you one question because I'm on budget tight. I don't have much money. So can you name top 3 vitamin and supplement that you will choose and give the reason why you support for these 3? And another thing, in case that we could not take the vitamin and supplement for too long, can we just start and stop for a while?
You can start and stop whatever you want.
Really?
Yeah. But the point, if you can go back to the list of supplement in the list of hallmark of aging, we can see many supplements that quite cheap, like B6, B12, folic acid. This one you can take it. Omega 3, if you eat fish 5 or 6 times a week and have avocado every day, you can you okay not to take omega 3, but only few people that can eat like that. So omega 3 is one of the supplements that have attack many hallmarks of aging. And another one is vitamin D level. Now, when we check vitamin D, I think everyone in the room, if we check more than 70%, we have low level of vitamin D, except we already replace it by takes about 5,000 units per day. So these 3, I think it's not too expensive. And coenzyme Q10, I think is quite important because it's have quite strong and attack many hallmarks of aging. And I take it about 100 milligram per day. So if you ask me to select top 3 or top 4, I will select this for the general population that like have the limit budget. But I personally takes about 15 to 20 supplement per day. Okay.
Do we have any other questions? Put the microphone back, please.
If I cannot answer, my teacher is here, so I don't worry.
Yeah, I heard about that. AstraZeneca buy something from Dr. David Sinclair for resveratrol, and they said that because it not work, so they lost a lot money for that. Is that true that resveratrol not work in anti-aging? And any problem with the absorption that Dr. David said that he has to mix resveratrol with yogurt or olive oil or something like that to
You
make
have to be
it
cautious
more
when you
deserved.
listen to David Sinclair. But resveratrol, the evidence to increase lifespan in animal, there is no evidence like that. But they still have some benefit in terms of cardiovascular, kidney, brain, and endothelial. So we can use that in that part, but don't use resveratrol in terms of longevity to extend your lifespan. There is no evidence like that. But resveratrol and curcumin, I also use it in cancer patients. High dose of resveratrol and curcumin may inhibit cancer cellular proliferation. But we have to follow the oncologist with standard guideline first, but we can add some supplement like vitamin D and selenium to improve the immune function.
โทษนะคะคือตอนนี้ใน YouTube เขาจะโปรโมทกันมากเลยว่าให้กินแอสตราแซนทีนแล้วก็กินแมกนีเซียมอะค่ะจริงๆแล้วพอมาดูมันอยู่ในลิสต์นี้ไม่ ไม่ได้มากเท่าไหร่
ในลิสต์จะมีแมกนีเซียมครับ in this list many hallmarks of aging can attack by magnesium and most of people also have low level of magnesium intracellular but if we check serum magnesium is always normal because it's buffer with your bones so I recommend to take magnesium too but for the astaxanthin I see only few papers that relate to hallmarks of aging. It may help for the antioxidants, but in other hallmarks, it may not help much.
และจริงๆไอซ์บาร์อะค่ะมันควรจะทำ
Ice bath and sauna is longevity level
ใช่
4.
ใช่ค่ะ
It's good for the one who have inflammations, but if you like to increase your muscle mass, especially in women, if you go to ice bath, it will inhibit mTOR after you try to build your muscle. So if you do weight training, have to skip at least 5 to 6 hours before you go to ice bath. But the one who have a mental problem, parasympathetic, sympathetic, hyperactive of sympathetic and very low of parasympathetic, I think ice bath is may help because if you have experience to go in ice bath, you have to focus in only the present moment. You can think about future, can think about work. So it can help for your mental. But if you don't want to waste your time, just only breath in and out slowly is the way to maintain your parasympathetic and vagus nerve.
Very interesting questions. Any other questions? Any questions online?
Curcumin ก็ประมาณcurcumin dose of about 50 to 100 milligram ครับออนไลน์อยู่ที่หน้าจอตรงไหนนะครับ
ในคน
ในนี้
ที่กิสแตติน
โอเคในคนที่กินสแตตินต้องให้กิน Q10 มากกว่าคนไม่ได้กินไหมนะครับอายุน้อยที่เริ่มทาน Q10 คืออายุเท่าไหร่ก็ Q10 ผมจะให้100มิลลิกรัมถึง200มิลลิกรัมเลยนะครับถ้าจริงๆเอาตามเปเปอร์เลยเนี่ยเขาจะให้ประมาณสัก200มิลลิกรัมนะครับก็แบ่งเป็น1เม็ดเช้า1เม็ดเย็นin paper for statin the one who takes statin recommend to take about 200 milligram 100 in the morning 100 in the evening and no need to check Q10 level if you already take it it's high level no problem อายุน้อยที่จะเริ่มทาน30 years old you can start Q10
We still have 3 more minutes for questions.
Earlier you mentioned the the 4 metals that you do blood tests that has contamination with the pollutants in the environment. They were can you repeat the 4 metals again? And when it happens, what do you do to help the patient?
We try to check heavy metal, but if you do the blood sampling like spot, check your urine or check your blood without any other intervention, sometimes we may miss that we have heavy metal in the body because some heavy metal is deposit in your blood vessel, in your fat cell, in your organs, in your liver, in your bone marrow. So the way that I try to check that is there any heavy metal in the body or not, I start with IV chelation with EDTA and for mercury, I may check the blood mercury. After we do the IV chelations, then we collect the urine sampling after IV chelations, and we can see that there is high lead, high mercury, not mercury, because mercury need DMSA, not EDTA. We can see lead, aluminum, cadmium, arsenic, and if we can see that, it's quite confirmed that the patients have this heavy metal in the body. Now we have to have first ask them that there is any other source that they can get more. We have to prevent that from that, like aluminum from their kitchenware, herbicide, pesticide. We have to clean with sodium bicarbonate, baking soda, and the filter the water before they drink. This is the way that we check for heavy metal. And Ajahn Pantana have the test to check microplastic too. Now, right now we can check microplastic in our body. And Dr. Pantana also have the way to remove microplastic from our body too.
Okay, let's have one last question, please.
I am the one who afraid of chelation. Is there any supplement or herbal medicine that say they can lung pit detoxify? Not chelation. Can we use that?
The natural way for detoxification is to eat more garlic, onion, artichoke that have high sulfur. Now, sulfur can help sulfation at the liver to remove a heavy some inflammation. And you may take high fiber diet and broccoli, cauliflower, and supplement that may help, but it's not have potency like chelation. It's like zinc, selenium, alpha lipoic acid, and acetylcysteine. This may help. And you may go to sauna. Sauna after exercise. There is another book called Sauna Detox with Niacin. In that protocol, in that book, they start with vitamin B3 until you have flushing, and then you go to exercise and take carbon, eat carbon to bring absorb in the guts, and then you go to sauna. That's another book that talks about detox by natural way.
If we don't take NMN and we go to eat vitamin B3 or niacin instead, do you เห็นด้วยไหมคะ
You mean to choose NMN or B3?
Because I don't sure that the NMN in the market had any toxicity inside or not. So I think I better take vitamin B3 instead. But with people with high cholesterol, can we choose niacin for them instead of NMN?
When you take B3, but you like to get enough effect, like the same effect from NMN,
Yes.
you may have some side effect first from B3, like flushing. So it cannot replace NMN by B3.
But if we want to tolerate the side effect, the flushing, okay, I just want NAD, increase the NAD.
I think it's better to choose the right company, right product from NMN that have certificate, that have the level of NAD+, NMN. There is a paper about 2 or 3 years ago. They try to pick about 12 brands in the market, and there is only 3 brands that have the right level in the same as in the label. But I cannot tell the name of the brand because medical council.
All right, the organizer wanted to have one last question from online, and they want me to translate it as well. Which supplement can we take, should we not take before sleep? And which ones would interact with each other?
Supplement that should not take before go to bed is any supplement that make you have energy. So you may have problem sleeping. So like Q10, like B complex, like NMN, I recommend to take in the morning. ครับประมาณนี้นะครับ
Thank you so much, Dr. Narintorn. Please give him a round of applause. Now, just to have a recap of what we have in this room today, thank you so much, Pharma for organizing this. You're a 45-year-old company that has been available worldwide with more than 100 clinical trials. Thank you for bringing in 3 of the keynote speakers. Starting from Dr. Larson, we learned that micronutrients such as selenium and CoQ10 decreases in serum as we age, and it increases the risk for disease. Increase in CoQ10 helps decrease cardiovascular mortality. Meanwhile, selenoproteins are important for increasing survival rate. To increase selenoproteins, we can increase serum selenium, which can be done through supplementation through the studies that we saw today. Taking both CoQ10 and selenium actually helps synergistically in terms of improving survival. Dr. Strong gave us a lot of insight on pycnogenol, and we learned that it's an anti-inflammatory, it strengthens the endothelial function, improves microcirculation, which all of these combined allows it to help improve several organ functions, such as cardiovascular, sexual, eye, brain, and skin health. And from some of the questions, we also learned that eNOS is a pro-oxidant, which usually needs to be quenched by antioxidant. Thankfully, pycnogenol can do both, increases eNOS and also quench the oxidation species, which gives us the wide action of pycnogenol. Finally, we get to learn from Dr. Narintoran, who puts all of them together. We learned that hallmarks of aging, there's 12. Now, it happens all at the same time. It doesn't take turns in happening. Therefore, it requires several things to actually attack different or address different hallmarks. Now, we've seen that this is just level 3, he said. What's more important is actually level 1, which goes back to your lifestyle. And that's something that's probably hard because we have to do them consistently. But we also learned that if we are able to do all the, if we can do all the lifestyle intervention along with having disposable income to help with all the supplements and intervention, then we can actually prolong our quality of life until death. Or maybe we will be immortal, or we might not die at all. And I hope you guys learned what I learned today, and I would definitely use this in my practice. Thank you so much, and I would like to have Kunakaran to help with the closing remark for today. Stay healthy and stay happy. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of today's symposium, on behalf of PharmaNord, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to all of our speakers, Associate Professor Dr. Steve Larsen, Dr. Jeffrey, and Dr. Narintoran, and also our moderator, Dr. Brian, and every one of you for joining us this afternoon. Your participation, thoughtful attention, and engagement have truly made this event meaningful. I hope today's session have provided valuable scientific insight and practical knowledge that you can take back to your practice and your patients. At PharmaNord, we are committed to supporting the medical community with high-quality products backed by solid research, and events like this are an important part of that mission. Thank you once again for your time and for being part of the PharmaNord Symposium 2025. And now I would like to warmly invite all of you to join us for dinner at Espresso Restaurant, located on the lower floor of this conference area. The restaurant will be open at around 5:45 p.m. Please enjoy the evening, relax, and continue the conversation over dinner. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Thank you.